That's a bald eagle. Get away, Baldy! Yeah! Oh, well. Good evening, and good evening. This is The Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve, GubsRadio.com. We are live here at the biggest and the baddest comedy club in all of Long Island, Governor's Comedy Club, in the heart of Nassau County, Levittown. And we are here with our guests tonight. Before we begin, we have some sponsors that we need to get through. We'll start off right away. We got a lot to do. Let's kick it up with Rosie's Draft Solutions. Steven, take it away, sir.
Woo! Rosie's Draft Solutions is a Long Island family-owned business that provides professional draft beer system services, line cleanings and maintenance, draft beer line system installs, vent dispensing solutions, and more. They are passionate about craft beer and making sure it has the same quality as when it left the brewery. And this is only done by making sure those draft system lines are perfectly clean. Tight. Rosie services bars, restaurants, halls, events, and all other beverage establishments, including home kegerator installs across Long Island and Westchester. You can reach them at rosiesdraftsolutions@gmail.com or call them at 631-219-2075, Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Mention the Wort. Gonna get, I think, a Brazilian wax. Oh, no. They're
Brazilian butt lift.
Yes.
A full butt lift?
Yes.
God.
I think that's what's gonna be.
Oh, God. Well, 100%.
No, well, you will get a discount. Probably not.
But not
else.
a Brazilian wax or butt
Probably
lift.
not.
Right. Well, fair enough. Go to rosiesdraftsolutions.com and give them a call. Tell Nick the Wort sent you. Receive a percentage off your order, your service today. Today we are also sponsored by Beer Maker. Peter, take it away.
Beer Maker. Your at-home all-grain countertop brewing system. Brew whatever style you want. A Kolsch,
all of those.
hazy IPA, a West Coast IPA, a Mexican lager, a stout.
Lots of stouts.
They did Stout Month. It was
Double
pretty cool.
IPA and all that other good stuff.
Or you can make your own beer. Is there? Do you want to try and make your own Julius clone at home?
Do it.
Fucking do it. Why not?
Good luck to you.
Good luck. Via Candios, as they say. And it works on an app. The app's available on iOS and Android. And mention promo code The Wort and get 10% off your brewing system.
Nice. Go to BERMKR. I forgot the end there.
Leave off the last A&E for savings.
.com. Also, you can visit our link tree in our Instagram bio for our special page right to your beer maker today. We are also sponsored by Brewbag.
Brewbag!
For your beer pong cornhole, go to brewbag.com. And again, same thing, link tree bio of Instagram. You got a special page with your discount. You can also get a custom vinyl wrap. Folks, you're talking about beer pong cornhole. Beautiful days are coming. I hear this weekend's going to be about 50, 60 degrees, so I'm hoping we get our brew bags busted out and we start playing in the odds again.
Yeah.
Go to brewbag.com or, again, go into our Instagram bio and click on the link tree and get 10% off.
Brewbag, B-R-U-B-A-G.
Yeah, that's correct. And go to Brewbag today. We're also sponsored by Brewers Hardware. Thanks, Will, for hanging and assisting us with sponsoring our show and allowing us to give back to our brewer guests. Go to brewershardware.com and in the promo code type in the Wort and receive a special percentage off your order today. And speaking of our brewer guests, who do we have in studio today? But our buddy, our pal, Ben from the Test Brewery. What's going on, pal?
What's going on?
How you guys doing?
Yeah, we're doing
Fantastic.
Well, sir, we have a lot to talk about because Steve and I frequent one of your other breweries quite often. And this is something that people know about if they know about it, right? I'm sure that if they know, they know. And they probably know from you being out and about at Root and Branch, but you are on your own venture. So let's get right into how did this all start? Because I know you've contracted it at a couple places. You have a bunch of labels out. It's a real big startup. Like, how are you attacking this project? This is an undertaking. As we interviewed hundreds, yes, because we're well over 100 shows, hundreds of brewers over the years. This isn't easy.
No.
Well, at least he agreed with us.
Yeah. This is certainly one of those undertakings, but you are in the industry. You're already kind of there. You're in the muck, as they say. Give us your story. Where did this all start? How did this craft beer thing start for you?
Sure. I mean, I would imagine my story starts the same way a lot of people's stories do. My wife bought me a homebrewing kit, probably about a decade ago.
Story as old as time.
Yeah. Tale as old as time. We made some beer at home with like one of those simple little, like it was, back when Whole Foods was selling those.
Beery's kind of thing.
Was it Mr. Beery? Or one of those other Brooklyn
question.
beer kits?
Probably that one.
That one, yeah.
I think we tried to make a Saison, exploding bottles.
So you made it correctly. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things were done right.
The first beer we ever made, the first bottle that we opened, we ended up having to run into, we were living in a loft at the time, literally ran into the bathroom and stood in the shower and took a beer shower. That's how much I overcarbonated that beer. So,
but it was delicious, wasn't it?
Attention
was fully
to detail.
carbonated.
Delicious beer
Very
shower.
strong
It was nice.
season.
A nice flat beer. It was
Well carbonated.
Yeah.
well carbonated.
Yeah. Phantom has also done that to me before.
Yeah.
Well said. See, and
I know I'm on the right track.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess from there, I really never had any intention or ambitions to become a brewer. Or I just sort of like kind of slowly snowballed. I was running a bar program at a restaurant in the city called Blue Hill for the better part of the last decade, and have like cooks over to homebrew for pop-ups that they were doing. Started an Instagram account around that. And, it was sort of like one of those things where it was just like one thing led to another. I started a brand with a friend of mine that got picked up by the 12% Beer Project, which got me brewing out of the Great South Bay. And that's where I actually met Anthony. We would have days where there'd be two turns on the brew deck, and one of us would be the first turn and the other would be the second. And we sort of like started passing each other.
And if anybody's wondering, Anthony is the owner, brewer, Root and Branch.
That's, I guess I should...
It went over my head.
That's what I'm here for.
Great South Bay has sort of turned into an interesting place in the sense that because it's a contract facility, because they really sort of they seem to have an open door policy.
They're opening another place.
I've heard through the grapevine.
Yeah, me too.
Let's talk about that.
They've sort of become somewhat of a nexus for
like a beer incubator, sort of.
like brewers of all kinds. But there seems to be brewers doing cool things there all the time. And Anthony and I became fast friends, just sort of talking about Root and Branch when he was getting that up and running. Turns out we lived in the same neighborhood. We just started this long conversation about beer, and going into the pandemic, I've sort of always had dreams of starting this project called Test. At the beginning of the pandemic, I left Blue Hill and just started focusing on Test full time. So I guess in many ways, the pandemic ended up being this great thing for me in the sense that it gave me the catalyst and the time that I really needed to go, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to go for this.
There you go.
I guess that's the short of it.
The Great South Bay, let's get back to that experience. When you were there, and I was trying, because you saw me doing a little technical work, how did that relationship begin?
12% plugged me in with a brand that I was brewing for called Free Thought. At the time.
Free Thought.
And at the time, Great South Bay, they were doing Omnipolo stuff, stateside, and Stillwater stuff, and I guess more than anything, I realized sort of what a great little hub or nexus for brewing that place was becoming. And even now it's like you got guys like Mike from Duchess are brewing there.
Yeah.
You have Back Home Beer has done some brewing there. I think they're a really cool startup brand. She's sort of like kind of bringing a cultural Iranian perspective to beer, which is like,
Interesting.
Really, like it's awesome.
We saw that pop up on our feed. I think that was one of the ones I was like, oh, this is interesting. Just going with that, cultural idea. We've had, what was the one that we did in AC Beer Fest? And
The Polish one?
no, Montclair. With, what's his face? Names are hard when
When you're
fest.
drunk.
When you're drunk and at that fest. I mean, some great, what was the one you and I had? The woman that was in the city and now she moved away.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I remember.
Yeah, you guys are great. with
Terrible with names. That was like 5 years ago. Give me a break.
That was
Okay.
a long time ago.
And
All right.
she did some great stuff. I mean, I'll look back on our feed and it's probably in our post somewhere. But yeah, I mean, some of the ingredients that they use, some of the native stuff, you never think that's what's going to go into a beer. I saw in that little beer package you have over there that you, sir, have a Japanese lager.
Wheat beer.
Wheat beer. Sorry.
Technically an ale. Should we open a beer?
Sure.
Well, it's up to
Yes.
you. We're going to go through the
guys
beers a
thirsty?
little later.
Okay.
No. You could. No. Yes.
Huh?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Craft.
beer. Yes,
Craft
Yes,
beer.
beer. But no, I mean, we're going to break it down and talk about, the actual beers in a little while. But I want to get into your time at Root and Branch. So you kind of met Anthony, got started with him over at Root and Branch. How was contracting? Because I know they were, going through the steps, and I think they were over at Grimm for a while. They were contracting. Evil Twin. Sorry, Evil Twin.
Yeah.
How was those experiences? How did they kind of shape where you wanted to go with what you're doing, and then again, just overall for the Root and Branch name?
I would say they've greatly shaped what I'm doing. I feel like I kind of entered beer from a really fortunate place in the sense that Blue Hill kind of plugged me in with a handful of people, Anthony at Root and Branch, and Jason and Mike, the brewers at Hudson Valley Brewing, and I like those guys sort of like really represent everything that I love about craft beer. They've been incredibly generous from a knowledge sharing standpoint. Just really welcoming. It's like open door policy. Any questions that you have for me, kind of thing.
Have you found that for all people in the industry? I mean, without naming names, has anyone really kind of shunned you away and been like, "Get out of here"?
Who are the assholes you've met, Ben?
Not really.
And where do they work
Not really,
now?
Yeah, I would say that. I'm sure they're out there, but so far my experience has been that it's a band of really great people who seem to really want to see the industry at large succeed. And I'm sure that there are jerks out there, but I've been fortunate not to run into them. And like if you talk about like people who are really like shining examples in the sense of like you look at the kind of beer that Anthony's making at Root and Branch, it's just top notch. Really kind of.
Steve knows he's out there every Friday tasting and sampling the new stuff.
As many Fridays as they could get there.
Steve's paying the rent.
Well, now that they really got me hooked with the fucking goddamn brick oven pizza.
Oh, that's right.
Nico's.
Yeah.
Man, he's killing it.
Yeah, so I guess watching Anthony work and Ryan, his business partner, watching the two of them work and build Root and Branch, the thing that's really stood out to me is just how much they care about quality.
Yeah.
They really put it above everything else. And I've seen the way they've made sacrifices to put quality first, and then you see the way it sort of has kind of paid off for them. And I would say that beyond all else in terms of how like you kind of getting to know those guys over the last few years, seeing how they really care about quality has been the thing that's been most impressed upon me.
One of the things I've noticed, because they were doing so much work in the city, and we know like the city water profile compared to Long Island water profile changes, but yet I don't feel like their beer changed at all. How are they combating this this change of location and water samples, are they going through all the testing and everything that needs to get done? Do they figure that out early on?
To be honest, I don't know the answer to that question. I can't.
Okay, we got to get them on.
Okay, of course. But
I mean, you're in both cases. At least at Great South Bay, the water that they're using there, and the kind of water that you're getting in the city, you're looking at what is already pretty soft, clean water that's then being carbon filtered. So, it doesn't really seem like there's that much of a difference where you're looking at making these like wild, drastic sort of
changes or chemical
changes
bouncing back out kind
to
of
your
thing.
salt additions or anything like that
Yeah.
to sort of to rectify the beer. I'm sure if you really wanted to get granular with the parts per million, you're probably looking at like the difference of 10 parts per million in some cases for like certain minerals, but I don't think that's the sort of thing that's really gonna
nothing's gonna
affect somebody's like how they perceive the beer in a way that's drastic.
We've talked to people and just because of just some of the city profiles, I guess we're just interested in how that does change. But I guess if you're looking at such a small unit per barrel, let's say, it probably wouldn't make that change. So you obviously throughout all this process and journey decided to start your own thing. At what point did you decide that this is the way to go? Did you put out like a pilot batch for yourself? Like, how did you get into getting your own labels and ideas out?
Part of it was I really have to credit my wife. I went to film school. Found myself in a position like.
Where'd you go?
Southern California, USC.
Really?
Yeah, great film school.
Great film school.
Yeah.
Holy smokes!
education.
Can you do? Can you
Again,
work?
another honest answer.
I need a camera guy. Can you do camera?
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk later. Okay, I'll get a name if I. You ever want to be in a union?
You want to be in the union?
You want to be a stagehand?
I love
I got some work for you. They really are. I mean, I'm telling you, they treat you right.
I'm a fan.
Oh God. But the interest is, you went to film school.
Yeah.
And then
I spent like I guess most of my 20s like freelancing, trying to make my own stuff, and I get like pretty standard story for a lot of creatives. You end up kind of getting funneled into the food and beverage industry.
Yeah.
Right?
That's where everyone ends up.
And again, like even when that was happening, I was really fortunate. I got taken under the wing of some pretty great, knowledgeable, like old school bartenders. A guy named Dale DeGroff who reopened the Rainbow Room in the 1980s.
Oh, wow.
And is sort of credited as being the bartender that resurrected the craft of bartending back from pre-prohibition.
Yep.
And a bunch of his colleagues, and so I kind of got to learn from the best, and because of that, it steered me into some good places, and it like Blue Hill, which ended up opening doors as I started making beer for fun, connected me with some really good people. But honestly, it was my wife. She I think could see where I was at in my life and was like, could see the frustration that I was starting to have over freelancing and not necessarily working on things that felt tactile, that were creative, that I loved. And she's just kind of kept pushing me towards beer.
She liked the free beer that you were getting at times.
Yeah,
She's like, "No,
The
this
funny
is
thing is now she's got a gluten.
no! All right. Well, this is a gluten-free brewery.
Yeah.
Damn you!
So I have to become a winemaker. Now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cider.
there you go.
Do some
On the
cider.
side.
Yeah,
On the side.
some cider.
Or mead. Can you do mead?
Well, cider.
Yeah.
She's probably pissed that I said that. Very private person.
It adds to
If
the
she's listening.
it
right
adds
now,
to the
Jane, I love
mystique
you.
of the story.
Yeah. It was sort of the thing that just kept snowballing, was somewhat unintentional, and then one day it became intentional. I think I got so inspired by watching the boys at Root and Branch and the boys at Hudson Valley work, and just wanted to be a part of it.
So I see you brought a Hudson Valley. And
This is a collaboration.
yes, I know.
Couple.
And
You'd
yes,
say
I
no.
know. I am a big fan. I've been up there a few times.
Yeah.
Love the sour IPAs. I like that. To me, I'll give you a quick story, and it's not the
Pete,
story you
right?
think it's going to be yet.
You love all those sour IPAs, right, Peter?
Fuck off.
All right.
But he he's waiting for
No,
the right one.
I've had a couple.
He-
I'm not a sour fan.
But it's not.
fair.
It's not that kind of thing. It's not like the fruit sours that you've probably been used to. I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna change.
I'ma tell
change
you.
it. I'm gonna tell you.
I remain skeptical.
So anyway, I was going up to Yogi Bear Resort, right? And I grabbed
Hey, boo-boo.
I grabbed a couple of 4-pack 12-ounce cans of their sour lime. It's IPA with lime and then IPA with peach, I think it was. And there's nothing better in the summer sitting next to a creek with those sour IPA.
man.
Oh,
Peach Silhouette is like that's one of the that's one of the beers that just changed the game as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned.
because it's not over fruit. It's
Yeah.
it's an IPA with just that hint along with that sour, so well balanced. How did you get hooked up with them? Just same thing through networking and
working at Blue Hill.
Yeah, it all came from there,
At
huh?
the time, we were looking to basically bring the beer list into current. Just make the beer list current. Like, there's an interesting problem in fine dining where these places will have the best wine on the planet. They'll literally have the best wine on the planet, and they'll spend all this energy curating these remarkable lists, wines that are allocated and impossible to get. And then you'll look at the beer list, and like there'll be like 5 beers on it, and they're all shit. It's just
Budweiser,
stuff
Stella
that you
Artois,
don't want to drink.
Peroni.
Michelob Ultra, and
Blue Moon.
Corona.
Blue Moon. You forgot about Blue
Whoa,
Moon.
whoa, whoa. I love Bud Heavy. I'm just
All right. Nothing wrong with a solid lager.
I'm a fan of Bud Heavy.
The list though is underwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like they weren't trying, but it was clear that craft beer and granted, this was also at a time when New York was just starting to open up farm and like the new combined craft licenses and the shape of craft beer in New York was just starting to change very rapidly.
Yeah,
So
like Brooklyn,
can't necessarily fault them for not
Blue
keeping up
Point,
or
some
being
of
aware
those
it.
original OG guys.
It was starting to go.
Yeah.
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 So we went to a union portfolio tasting basically going, we just want to identify what the best beer is here, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Literally went around, circled, tasted everybody's beer.
What'd you come up with?
That was the first time I had Oxbow.
Oh,
wow. And Grimm was already on my radar at the time. So we were looking to put them on the list. And we found this, stand, 2 guys standing behind it. They had, their little like cardboard cutout with some artwork on it that kind of reminded me of like something you'd see like Keith Haring do.
yeah.
Really modest guys. And we had Incandescent and Soleil, right? And at the time it was clear that was by far and away the best beer in that room. And they hadn't even opened the brewery yet. This is when the building. It sounds like you've been up to Beacon.
Yeah, a couple times.
That's when that building still had vines growing all over it.
Oh yeah. Before they painted
and
it white and put the beautiful Hudson.
I don't think they
Valley.
were actually just even distributing beer yet. And me and the assistant manager, the guy Ben, another Ben that I was with, we just kind of like, you guys are making the best beer here. We should make a beer together for Blue Hill. They were pretty gung ho about it, and we ended up that turned into a collaboration called Hylozoa, where we took them up to the farm, which they have Blue Hill has a farm in Westchester County called Stone Barns, and
Now, is it an extension of the restaurant, or is it just their own place to?
they have another restaurant up there. So
There is? Oh,
there's
okay.
basically one by Washington Square Park.
Okay.
And then the Stone Barn Center for Agriculture is on it's on like an old Rockefeller dairy farm.
Oh.
Cool.
Basically, and they've become one of the I guess pioneer model farms for the country, or they are now
Really?
become. But Mike and Jay or Jason from Hudson Valley had the brilliant idea of cultivating, and this is when like mixed culture, spontaneous beer, and like American brewing was really starting to like catch. They took honey, peppers from the greenhouse, I think some beets and some tangerine marigolds, and they just started culturing up mixed cultures from all these things on the farm, and ended up just doing like a pretty straight spontaneously fermented beer from the cultures that they had taken from the farm called
Yeah.
Islazoa. And that led to a long conversation about beer, sour beer cultures. And
Are they still propagating off of that same culture, or they just try to mimic it? Are they still doing those
I
processes?
mean, from what I understand, they very much keep like all of their cultures alive as well. They have this cool little facility that they call the Nest. That's just all mixed,
Everyone's got fancy names.
all mixed culture stuff.
Yeah, like Two Roads Lab. Is that what it's called? The second.
You got to give it a little pet name.
Yeah. Like Satellite Station number 7. Like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on there? Trillium does that. Remember they have their a second thing up the hill a little bit where some of the brewing is taking place now. Just some cool names. Makes you feel in the know. The lab.
Well, when we had the warehouse next door, we called it the dungeon. And it was for a whole different reason. We're not going to go there. But
Well, what you do in the dungeon stays in the dungeon.
2 men enter, 1 man leave.
Oh, so it's a bare knuckle fight.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah,
we
there's a
were
furniture
throwing
thing.
axes
Yeah,
in
you
there.
had
We were
Fight
doing
Club
the-
going
you
on.
know.
Did you throw axes?
Yeah,
That's
we
pretty cool.
I built an axe fucking board and everything, and it was like legit. Yeah.
And you had concrete
And-
floors. Perfect for bouncing off.
And the best thing was,
Getting you in the
the
shin.
best thing was everybody's like, "Oh, well, you should just have like your customs go over." I'm like, "What the fuck is wrong with you people?"
Do you understand there's
Suit
blood
out
on the floor?
business.
Oh, my goodness. How did you end up meeting Steve? I know you said you've known Steve.
I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
show at the Root and Branch all the time.
Hi, Steve.
Yeah,
That makes sense. That tracks.
Yeah. Steve's been coming in since the day they opened.
Yeah.
Um,
We were there opening weekend, right? He got the word. He's like, let's go. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I think you went first.
I did, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there opening
Bitch.
day. I went to the back. I went on not.
That's right. You went the back way.
I went not Marconi. What was the other one? The other side. Because there was no information. I didn't know,
a
and I
rite
live
of-
so
it's a
close.
rite
I'm
of
like,
passage,
I know
yeah.
where it is. Right. That's how I felt. I went to that little cul-de-sac parking lot. I'm looking around. I'm like, there's no signs
He
here.
went home crying.
I
What's the
wasn't
matter,
the only
honey?
one.
I had to go in the back.
Some other dude followed me, and then
Of course he did.
it was you guys were in the brew area, and you saw us, and someone just knocked the window. Just go around the other side. I'm like, all right. So I walked all the way, and the guy jumped in his car, and we got there at the same time because you have to go under the train tracks and the lights.
And
And everything.
meanwhile, I
Yeah.
remember saying to him, "Read the fucking directions."
No, this was after the fact. After the fact,
He's
after I
such a
told you I
fucking-
couldn't
he's
find
a liar.
it.
He's a liar.
you
Now
corrected
you
me
and you.
after the fact, but that's fine. I made my way in on opening day, weekend, whatever, and had my first sip of Root and Branch when you guys opened the doors. I was excited to have you as one of
Are
the
you trying to seduce me?
lineups
You're gonna go
in
in the
our
back.
local area.
yeah.
I mean, I'm excited that Sand City moved into the area. Love them, but I'm just kind of already over. You know, like you always look for the new. I know that's something to be said, but like when something new walks in, like when Small Craft opened up, I was like, this is the best. And then you just, you grind and grow out of it.
want a
And
new
no,
brewery
it's not no hit on the brewery or the brewers.
freaking
It's just
millennial.
me. It's me.
I
I
want a
get
new
tired.
brewery in Farmingdale.
Another one? How many more do you need?
Well, you got a new one. Just go.
There's no one there at the door greeting anybody. No one's gonna know. Just go in. So
Fuck would I go there?
why not?
Wear a mask.
No,
There you
it's
go.
yeah. Oh, good point. It's you can wear like a Slipknot mask and it'll be like completely
I'll
normal.
fucking Fit in
like,
a little bit too
wear
much.
like like a Richard Nixon mask or something. Like that, yeah.
You could be one of the
don't
dead
want that.
presidents from what's
I happen
Point
to
Break.
I happen to
Maybe
love
Point
gluten.
Break. Yeah. When they open a double gluten brewery, that'd be great.
Yeah.
There you go.
So give me the concept and idea around test. Obviously, you're creating different things. This wheat beer, different. So again, I want to get into it after our little break. But what was the overall gist and essence of what you wanted to do?
Sure. I mean, the test brewery, the name, it started as a test kitchen brewery, right? Like, I think the idea is obviously to focus on quality, but really interested in invention and where we can purposefully move the needle or push the conversation forward a little bit. So always looking for opportunities to, try something new, but hopefully not in a gimmicky way.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that was going to be my question. Like, what's off the table? What aren't you?
Fucking candy bars in the goddamn stouts.
Oh, please, yeah. Is that off the table? Can that be off the table?
Snickers bars.
Let's put that off the table.
Fucking assholes.
Sure.
Breakfast cereals are breakfast cereals off the table.
I will never say never. I'll say that.
I say
I'll
never to
say
breakfast cereals.
But I'm really interested in promoting organic, biodiverse, local agriculture. Big part of our I guess opening push has been to just look at grains. We're just sort of trying to look at the base materials. And we had identified oats as being a logical place to start. So a lot of what we've been doing is
You better start talking about that overnight oat
Before we get into that, can I ask a dumb question
Yeah.
or a silly question? I should say, what is this person walking out a fucking octopus on this can? Can we?
You'd have to ask Christian.
All right.
Well,
All right, back to oats.
How else is he
Well, there
supposed to
are
walk on water?
mushrooms in this beer, so
this is going to be an interesting show.
So we're about to
Just
walk on octopus.
so we're going to be walking on octopuses in a few moments, boys.
Oh, yeah. So
This is really I like this a lot. Delightful.
the test brewery is also named after Ken Kesey's Kool-Aid acid test.
See?
Maybe
There you go.
maybe a little
Bunch of people checking in on Instagram. Joe, Heatmeister Brews, saying, "What's up, Ben?"
Oh,
Yes.
I just saw Joe a moment ago.
Yeah.
Into my root branch.
Of
What's going
course.
on, Joe?
Of course.
Beer Dad's checking in. Robbie.
Mayor Joe. We call him Mayor Joe.
Mayor. Yes.
you should
he
just
is.
call him Troon Boy. Right, Joey?
or monkish.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Or Noble
Fighting.
Savage. Or
Fighting's a lot of.
he's the
fighting.
man. He's the man.
Kid Squid's checking in. Said, "What's up, Bellingham?" Wow.
Okay.
Bish Vegas,
Bellingham's making some
Feel the
good hoppy
Hops,
beer out there.
Bush 618, and yeah, Joe's still hanging out and checking in. So
Yeah, Joey.
he's saying what's going on. So I might have stopped you in what you were discussing, but the overall you're just looking to push the needle, trying to
Purposefully, but
Yeah.
I want to look for. We're at a point where it seems like everything's been done in beer, right? Like it really
feels
does.
that way,
It
right?
really does. But
Again,
If
breakfast cereals are making
if you zoom out
appearances
a
far
little bit,
too
like
often.
even if you just look at how much work there is to be done with grain and the agricultural side going up the supply chain with grain, there's so much work to be done. Maybe people don't care about it, but there's work to be done there. And there's a lot of stuff that has not been done yet, just when you look at grain alone.
We were we had the malt house on, and so many things we learned about, just the process and the different ways that you can, store it, and it's almost infinite in that how many different variations of the same grain you can get in different flavor profiles and all that.
I mean, even when you just if you look at barley, like the base material of beer, most of us are essentially using the same variety, right? But in reality, there are all these landrace varieties and heirloom varieties, heritage varieties that are grown out there that just haven't been sort of tailored and bred into like maximum efficiency, maximum yield ranges that might have potential flavor up shots or terroir up shots.
Why do you think people aren't doing that? Is it time? Is it business as usual?
I think the short answer is efficiency. I think our agricultural system here has been pretty hell bent since World War II on efficiencies, right?
Here, as far as U.S., right? Not
In the
here
United
as in
States,
New York.
you're making tomatoes that are like the same size and aren't even necessarily ripe when they get to the grocery store.
Yeah.
When you look at or like potatoes, right? It's like what potato will make the crispiest potato chip, right? Not necessarily the most flavorful one. And I think with barley and beer, it's pure efficiency. It's how can you maximize how much alcohol or how much like the efficiency of the extract going in with little to no consideration for flavor. Brewers have kind of turned to hops for that,
right, for the flavor.
Yeah.
but and again, like we've also had malting as a tool, right? So it's not like even with one barley variety, you can still turn to the malt house for flavor. That's obviously where a lot of basically where the whole array, the whole spectrum of beer style either comes from yeast or malt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can get away with using the same malt variety because a skilled maltster can take that base malt and either make it taste like grass or make it taste like coffee or make it taste like caramel.
Yeah, that's what we were learning. How do you as a brewer combat all that? Like, how do you schedule that in? I know you're going, like you said, everyone's kind of using the same 2-row and things like that. What are the things that you play off of for that base that make your beer kind of unique in its way?
The thing that the main thing that I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at fats and proteins.
Okay.
So, as you start to get away from the, I guess, what we'd call conventional malts, conventional barleys and oats, and you start to get different levels of fat, which is a big part of the reason why I've been looking at oats. We've zeroed in on a handful of farmers that are growing heirloom oats that are much more like the kind of oats that our great grandparents might have eaten. And apparently oats were much fattier back then.
Yeah.
Which means cream. They were like, if you made oatmeal with those oats, they would have been creamier. And when you start to look at the practical upshots in beer, you're getting a creamier beer. And you're dealing with different fat level, different protein matrices, different protein structures. I'm not a scientist, so I might be using the wrong words. And for all of the brewers out there, sticklers on this shit,
you know what I mean.
They're going,
you know what I mean.
come on.
Yeah, you give them the, you know what I mean.
And that would affect how the yeast strains interact with it too, I would imagine, right?
I mean, possibly. I'm not a biochemist.
Ian,
I'm coming at it from
I'm
coming at it very much from a tactile perspective. Like,
Do you have your own house yeast? Are you using something specific, or are you just going with the SO4? Or
no, I mean I'm sort of style specific.
Okay.
I play around quite a bit, but I guess the short answer is no. I've got cultures that I like for specific beers. And I have mixed cultures that have been building up that I haven't had the opportunity to really show off yet. So we don't have a place
just
to put
tank space and everything else and scheduling. Yeah,
just don't have a place to put a mixed culture.
Best thing to do is you go out in the woods, you find a log, and just put it in a bucket and
put it in your butt.
Remember that guy?
Yeah. Who said that?
There was this brewer who was like, "Yeah, I just take a log I find in the woods, and I soak it in wort, and I just let it I'm like, what the fuck?
You give me rotten wood
I'm
wort?
like, what?
Oh, God. Well,
and,
Sounds like a good way to get a bunch of acetobacter and and end up with some sort of vinegar.
Or it becomes The Last of Us.
yeah, it'd be this first strain of the zombie apocalypse. So you like I said, pushing the boundaries. What are you seeing right now? Like, what do you got scheduling going on? You got tank space at Root and Branch. You got tank space at GSB. Like, where are you?
Just collaborating with Root and Branch.
Okay.
Primarily plugging beers into tanks at Great South Bay.
Okay.
I've always liked working with those guys. Greg, the head brewer there, is awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The Davises, their whole attitude is just sort of, we want you to make the beer that you want to make, and sort of let you come and go as you please. And
that's nice. That's a good feeling, right?
Yeah.
As a brewer, just the freedom to kind of do what you got to do.
Yeah, and the place is kind of quirky, You got guys like Greg gets around on a long skateboard.
Yep, on his longboard for years doing that.
Yeah, yeah. So it just like
cool creative environment.
Feels like a comfortable place to work, and like we were talking about before, you find yourself just interacting with and running into and mixing with other brewers that are also working on their own projects. And
you got Billy over there. And
Nightmare,
and
Billy's become a good friend of mine over the years, just for that reason. We've just sort of have been kind of working in parallel to each other over the years.
When we started, he was kind of an enigma because he was just there and then not, and you're like, where'd he go? But more and more, I've seen him out and about, especially with the relaunch of some of the beers, and I was at the opening, the relaunch at Great South Bay. I mean, super personable guy when you get him going.
Yeah,
I mean,
Billy's great, man.
He is. He, hanging out with everybody. I see him bouncing around. Being the governor of Ghost that night. And same thing with Paul. You got Paul over there as well. I mean, what a combination of all those guys. It almost feels like the Google of beer brewing over there. Just all the collaboration and
they're all characters.
Right.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
They're all unique individuals, but good people.
Yeah.
On top of it.
Yeah, like we were saying before, it's hard to run into the dick of the brewing industry.
I know one.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's going to be one.
We all know one.
You got to know one.
No one.
So you're looking at the future a little bit. And we'll probably wrap this up later with this, but kind of what's the main goal here? Are you looking to try to establish your own brand and open a brick and mortar? Is that really the ultimate goal?
Yeah, I mean, mainly because out of necessity, it feels like I need a place to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing one-off batches is all good, but I'd like to put myself in a position to be brewing a few beers, a week, and just get into a space where I can actually iterate.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in this position where I have a million ideas, and I can put one out like every couple of months. And
what's the next one? What are you thinking about right now?
Oh man, so the big thing that I've been working on at the moment.
Wait, before you answer that,
sure.
What was the most recent one?
So the very most recent beer is a beer that hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
We just collaborated on a beer with Root and Branch.
Okay.
That uses overnight oats. I mean,
That
was the one Steve wouldn't let it go.
Oats are a bit of a theme with me. I'm kind of fascinated with them.
Bro, that runoff, that little runoff video you had, I was just like, all right, what the fuck is he doing?
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm so enthralled by this.
Yeah.
Steve, you ever get to work with oats?
Yeah, I had goats and shit.
No, oats, not goats.
Oats. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
The goats in the
Well,
dungeon.
which
too.
ones had
Well,
oats in?
the thing is, I didn't go in depth as he did, or is. But yeah, a lot of guys use flaked oats.
Yeah.
More people using, malted oats now. It's
What's the difference?
well, think about flaked oats as oatmeal, like you have at home.
Right.
Malted oats it's barley. It looks like a grain.
Okay.
And you can, like with all types of grain, change the complexity of it, the amount of sugars in it, amount of proteins, fats, flavoring, and they're finding it's more stable. It's going to actually add a little bit more sugars.
Yeah. I see it more popular more and more over the last, say, 5 years when a couple of beers here and there, a lot of double and triple IPA type stuff had oats in it just to kind of bump the ABV up that last little bit.
That was more for mouthfeel and
but now it's
when
using
the
a
haze
more
came in,
right.
everybody was like, "Oh, I got to add it for a haze."
Well, that's what I'm saying, but
Not
that's
even
the
really
more
realizing.
complex kind of evolution of what has happened. Now they're using in multiple types of beers to add different types of flavor. You all right? Yeah. Oh, got it. But that's it. I mean, Ben, you obviously you've used oats, and you're going to be using this upcoming one. What was the reasoning for that? What was the standout result that you will see when creating that recipe and then getting that final beer?
I mean, I guess the reason is agricultural. We live in the world that we've built in the States from an agricultural standpoint really relies on corn and soybeans, right?
That is very true.
And we're finding
Gotta have
out
that
that it's bad for the topsoil. It's kind of destroying our soil. We know that crop rotation is a really important way to maintain soil health. And there's been this speculation that oats could be a sort of an important step in the right direction for industrial agriculture, in the sense that oats can also help fix other nutrients for the soil that corn and soybeans can't. So
almost like a palate cleanser to kind of reset the soil a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like proper crop rotation in reality, you probably need at least 10 crops that you're rotating to really sort of give the soil what it needs. But at the very least, if we can and the thing is because we live in a consumer-driven society, it's like you have to create consumer needs for this stuff. But there's a belief that, like with the rise of oat milk, for example, that could be a boon for American farming, because if more Americans start drinking oat milk, that financially incentivizes industrial farmers to put oats in the ground.
And they're looking to change that.
Why?
Almond milk, oat milk.
You mean in general to be like,
you can't cook. There is a bill.
You can't call it.
You can't call it milk.
okay.
So it's
sponsored by the dairy farmers.
Yeah, oh, without a doubt.
Sure.
Without a doubt, it
Sure,
was.
sure.
Good old.
Well, I'm calling it oat milk.
Yeah. I don't care what you call it.
Goddamn
I
dairy lobby.
squeezed the teats of those oats.
Those tiny little teeth.
I'm gonna have a line of dairy farmers outside of my apartment in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Well, you can milk anything with nipples. And
There he is!
Get them.
There's a guy.
There's that oat bitch.
Why I order?
That oat bitch.
I guess.
Have you named that overnight oat beer yet? Because I feel like that oat bitch is.
Oh yeah. Well,
You know,
here, give me a piece of tape and a marker.
Yeah.
I'll relabel all of them, and I'll just send.
That's
Anthony
interesting.
an email
That particular crop can be a big counterpiece to what we're doing to our earth at that point.
It's a good piece of the puzzle, and
Yeah.
and so.
But
I wanna
like you're
support
saying, though,
that.
you have to make it financially viable because
Right.
because if you're growing all those soybeans, all that corn to export to other markets, like that's something you need that's years in advance.
Yeah.
Like that's,
We don't live in a society where we can like snap our fingers.
No.
Even though we all think like most of us probably logically think like we want to take care of the land that we live on. We want to be good stewards of it.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the
do
hundreds
we?
of millions of Americans,
We
that
do.
I feel like if you ask the
You
average
mow your
person, they would
lawn,
probably
you
say-
keep your beds nice, but it is.
I mean, we say that, but
we
don't
also wanna
spend
be a
our money
consumer.
in a way that
Sure.
Well, we also want to be consumers, and we're not going to stop that train from moving because we know what happens then.
It's
So
important to just keep having the conversation, right?
Right.
I think for like many of us, every day is a school day, right? It's like and people don't necessarily know that buying oat milk instead of
cow milk.
cow milk might actually be better for the land, and I don't even know if that's necessarily true.
it sounds right. It does that. It does, though. I mean,
But,
same
there's
thing with
studies
almonds.
out there that say that it is.
Yeah.
Again,
And I'm
honesty.
inclined to believe, trust scientists, I guess.
Damn scientists.
But
Oh,
so I guess I'm in attempting to triangulate beer with agriculture and what I'm trying to do at Test. You look at the hazy double IPA, and that's literally the beer that's keeping the lights on probably at almost every brewery in the country
Yes,
at
it
the
is.
moment. And you see the breweries that refuse to make that beer style kind of, not all of them, but some of them struggle, and they can't figure
Most
out
of
why.
them
But
struggle.
then they're also like, I'm never making a hazy IPA, and for me, it just seems like those are puzzle pieces that fit.
Yeah.
Oats are really the unsung hero of hazy IPA.
Yes.
We all look at hops, but the thing that makes that beer so soft and smooth, those are the oats.
Oats.
And
There was a brewery that we had on a couple times that we were friendly with, and that was one of their things. Like, we're never going to make a hazy IPA. We think that's such a stupid trend, and like they have several hazy IPAs.
and now that's the backbone of their business model.
And they make great beer that's not hazy IPAs. And I
bounce a few rent checks.
Yeah, exactly.
Bounce a few
You
rent
know,
checks and you start changing your tune.
hey.
Right?
Listen, you got to do what you got to do.
got to keep the doors open. I don't begrudge them one bit. I'm just saying.
Right.
So I guess then with beyond that, there's more than one oat variety, right?
Yeah.
So how can you then also through your purchasing power as a company, as a brewing company, help to shape what farmers are putting in the ground, which is why we started looking at heirloom oats and finding that they're real practical upshots, right? Like they taste better.
Yeah.
Because they're fattier, because they're more protein rich. They literally have the oats that we use, like they almost like they taste like cream soda. They have like a vanilla note that they carry with them.
Interesting.
And so they're a little more expensive, but there's practical upshots for brewers from a flavor standpoint that can justify the purchase. But then you're also
You have to create a market incentive for
you have
for
to
a
talk
farmer
about it
to
you
grow
know?
it. Yeah.
You have to talk about it. You have to identify it for the consumer so that they can go, okay,
Yeah, that makes sense.
heirloom fatty oats in hazy IPA makes a slightly creamier hazy IPA,
Which
whatever it is.
could separate your beer from another and could bring more business to that. So it kind of, looking
Yeah.
to make that handshake
Well, and
across the
then
board.
what always happens, somebody replicates it,
Oh, well.
and then everybody replicates. But no, as
but
you
that
say,
becomes the next big
But and
thing.
that
then-
drives demand.
That
for
drives
it.
demand,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then now, again, you're
And hopefully there's some level of sea change.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's another component of like, I definitely don't want to keep any of like my ideas or Tess' ideas to ourselves. I when we look at these things, like I would love to see adoption. I would love to see these things
I'm adopted.
go out into the world. You know what I mean? Are you really?
Yeah. Real sorry, just a bunch of people.
the things that he just.
It was
throws
all
out
this
there.
oat talk that people are getting on Instagram right now.
Are people? They're tuning out right now.
No, they're
No,
tuning in.
they're
Jay Clancy saying what's up. CG3303. Necromatic is saying what's up. Wizard Romney, my buddy Eric from Boston. He might just going back again. Yeah, I said feel the hops. All right, so the bunch of people just sticking around, listening for the long haul. I didn't mean to interrupt that. I just the idea though is oats is we can as this industry develops and using that more can affect change throughout other industries. When you're talking about the hops you choose, are you going? What's your license under, or are you just licensing under who you're brewing with? Like, how is that
So
going?
I've got a small facility in New Paltz that we've basically put our test brewing system into.
Okay.
And that has a combined craft license hanging on it. So we're
And a farm or no?
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's a license as a microbrewer and farm brewery.
There's no brewing that happens there. It's mostly collaborative,
Just
jumping around.
piloting.
Piloting.
I do all
Okay.
my piloting in that facility.
Why'd you pick up there? I guess because you're closer to Hudson. You're like beacon very much.
cost, to be honest?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
sort of like found myself in a position of like, where can I find a warehouse that meets the requirements of the New York State Liquor Authority and
Yeah.
do it at a price that I can afford to like bartend at Root and Branch and pay the rent at that place kind of
It'd be
thing.
tough down here. I mean, are you thinking about maybe not being on the island?
Right now, I'm keeping it like as open of a mind as I possibly
Okay.
can. I live in Brooklyn. Selfishly, I'd like to be able to walk or take the subway to work. So we're looking at spaces in North Brooklyn.
Okay.
I'm definitely not opposed to anything on Long Island or up in the Hudson Valley.
I think real estate in general would be tough in Brooklyn and Nassau. I think you're a little more open out here.
Sure.
But then that commute, I mean, you got to think about those brew days and everything else.
Yeah.
Some.
Might have to become a Long Island, but move out.
Well, I was going to say, is your wife willing to make the trip? Is anybody
She
really
loves it out
tied?
here. We spent the weekend in Belport with,
Okay,
with
there you
a friend
go.
of mine, and she's like, "We should get a house out here."
All right, don't tempt me.
So who knows? Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of finding a place that has the right bones, feels
Sure.
like the right fit.
Sure.
We're trying, as I'm sure you've been through, like trying to triangulate everything right now.
Yeah.
Bringing on the right people, trying to bring on the right investors, looking for the right space, doing all that.
Now, and not to go too far into detail, investors, how do you even find them? Are you looking for someone, that maybe a relative, or are you looking more for partnership business-wise? How do you even go about doing that? Like, if you're not someone that has those connections to start, how do you even find those? Like, how do I find an investor?
It's a good question. I mean, there seems to be a lot of people that want to that are interested in investing in breweries, right?
Especially alcoholics.
Thinking out
Steve.
loud. I mean, this is some like we've been doing that soul searching.
Yeah.
We're we think about. I think a lot of what we're looking for are people who can bring something to the table. People who.
Are we saying besides money, or are you talking about more
besides
like
money,
yeah,
like expertise, like
Infrastructure.
a level of expertise or a level of mentorship.
Sure.
You know, architectural experience is a plus.
Electrical would be nice.
Maybe a finance background.
You know.
Those kinds of things. So, you know,
Have you thought about the mob? What's that? Have you thought about having the mob invest?
Nothing's off the table.
Yeah, like I said.
Again, open mind.
Trying to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Listen, they got money and they got guys. They got a guy.
And supposedly
They got a
they're
guy
getting
really
in
great
on
at
the
bribes.
oat market right
yeah,
now.
right,
and
right now as we speak.
They're getting in.
Oh boy.
Quarter of the market on oats.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah,
Well,
apparently those guys know how to use a shovel too. Which is
Yeah.
Well,
great
this
for
is what-
graining
yeah.
out, right?
They have contacts in the waste disposal community.
Wow, this seems like a win-win now. I'm thinking about it.
Man, getting rid of all that spent grain.
When I say dump the grain in the mosh, you dump the grain in the mosh.
I mean, so there might be some body parts along in there, but hey,
You know, whatever. It's grain on top
maybe
of
we
grain.
should not be talking about this.
Maybe
Yeah,
you
we're
make
fine.
a bunch of Italian pilsners.
Oh man, it's all the rage now.
God, you would
Made with,
forget it.
made with pure mozzarella and olive oil.
Yeah, you might have an olive oil factory next to little
Do
Earl.
what you got to do.
I mean, but I've heard of people like, I'm looking to invest, but I just don't know where to get started. It's that's without just making that one contact with a guy that goes, I want beer. Do you advertise to try to get somebody? Is it just something you just word of mouth? Anybody know anybody? Like, how do you go about kind of
me,
tracking those people down?
It's all been word of mouth. I don't know if it's the state of the art, but I've been fortunate in the sense that I've sort of unsolicited have had folks offer to invest as we've gotten the project kind of up on its feet.
So you presented like I'm going to start a brewery. You know, I'm just kind of in the early phases, but looking for investors and people just kind of
Well,
chime
you'd
in.
be interested. Somebody drinks the beer.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Fuck." No, I'm dead serious.
and
They're
that-
like, "How do I get be a part of this?"
Yeah.
They get turned on by it so much that, I mean, to this day, things would have been really different if I had an investor come in and he was willing to put in over $1 million and brought me to this facility and over in Bethpage and the whole and scared the living piss out of me.
Because of the amount that you're kind of
He was like
pressure.
immediately the phone lines would be answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was like, all right, we're only open from nope. If anybody needs to get in contact with, I was like, what the fuck?
Is that scary? Like as
Yeah.
you getting those types of things, like that's way too much.
Well,
Too much, too fast,
I
too
think
soon kind of thing. Is that
Steve
the-
can probably attest to it, right? It's like you really care about this thing that you're building, and it takes a lot of trust to bring people in, and you want to make sure that they're the right people. You want to make sure that they also see what you see and are and want to build the same thing that you want to build. You want to make sure that their vision for what you're building is going to dovetail with your own vision. And
Yeah, you don't want to get in that relationship, and they're just countering everything you do, and all of a sudden it's not yours anymore.
I felt like I was selling my soul if I did it.
Yeah.
I literally did.
And in most cases, not all, but in most cases, you got to be willing to give up a piece of the company,
Right.
And those are hard decisions to make.
Yeah.
I'm at a point right now where I just want a place to do the work, So
There you
I'm
go.
sort of like in this space where I'm like I want to find the right people to do the work with, and I want to connect all the dots, and I'm hungry as fuck. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I've got a million ideas. And
You just want to go. You just,
and I want to just start clearing the hurdles out of the way. That's
A couple
sort of
people
where-
checking on Instagram, but we're going to say goodbye to Instagram. You guys can jump over to Facebook and YouTube on the Gubs Comedy Club podcast channel. R&R Brewing Co. Robert C. is coming back. 1940s.
Hey,
Charlie.
Charlie.
Hey, Civil War veterans know how to use the internet.
Man.
And Craft Not Crap LI has joined. But guys, I'm going to shut this down and go over to YouTube and Facebook and catch the full show. We'll be back in a little while with some more live video. But we got a segment coming up called Steve's 3 Questions. And we're going to find out a little bit about you, sir, about the kind of, let's say, drinking experience.
Yes.
This is actually a great one. Hold on, let me just tag this really quick so I can post it, and then I'll go back and edit it later. And then we're done here, and then we're done there, and yeah, I'm sharing that. Good. All right, so let's do a quick intro song here for a segment that we like to call Steve's 3 Questions. Tonight, we bring you a very special presentation. 3 questions with our very own Steve Pominski. Yeah. Steve's questions. 3 questions from Steve. 3 questions. Steve's questions. Go. There it
Almost
is.
missed it.
I know. Well, you're not listening, and I'm thinking. All right, so Steve's going to set this up, but we got some questions for you, Ben. So, Steve, take it away with Steve's 3 questions.
All right, Ben. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions, one at a time. You don't have to answer them all at once. We would like to get into this.
Okay.
And it
Let's
does.
get into
Once we start talking, it's like, what was that one beer that turned you on to craft beer? What was that one you go, I got to know. I got to find out more. I got to find out more about craft beer.
What is this?
I'm gonna sound like a hoe, man.
As you should, sir.
Dude, Magic Hat number 9.
Yeah! There it is. There it is.
First time. That's me right here.
Yeah.
That's mine. That
There
was the
it
hoe.
is.
It was. I am also the hoe. 'Cause
That's a good one.
That is one.
Many
that,
of us.
That I went.
Many of us.
What is this? And where'd you have your first one? Do you remember?
Oh, I was definitely in college, so it would have been.
Oh, okay, all right. Mine was at Effin' Groovin'.
Oh, my God.
Oh yeah, my first Magic Hat, Effin' Groovin'. I went in there for the
mine
first
too.
time, and saw that there was nothing that I'm normally used to, a Heineken or anything like that. Saw this beautiful tap handle with the little springs and everything, and I went, "What's that?" They're like Magic Hat. Like, all right, I'll try that. Changed my life. That was it. That was.
What is this apricot?
Yeah.
I miss
Yeah.
that fucking place so much.
Oh my God, I really wish it was back.
Actually,
but-
though, I mean, come on. Mike's doing a good job
Oh,
over
yeah,
there.
yes.
American Beauty.
no fault to
Not-
them. I
but
wish they
yes,
coexisted.
back in the
That's
day,
what I'm saying.
It was that was
Man,
just
that
such
was
a
the
cool
place.
thing.
That was
Yeah.
such a place.
The directions to Mulcahy's, like, we don't serve beer like Bud Miller or Coors.
Yep.
Here's the address to Mulcahy's if that's what you're looking
Yep.
for.
Yep.
But we have all these
Is there
cool
a good
things.
Magic Hat number 9 clone recipe out there? Should we all just do we just need to brew it so that we can all
Yes,
gather around a fire?
They're
and,
like
reminisce about the old
nearly
days?
out of business, right? Magic Hat, like
They've cut back on a lot of their cores. They still
No
doing
more
number
Circus
9.
Boy.
There's
Yeah,
no more
but I
So
Circus
feel
you
Boy.
still, you still see 9 around.
No
but
Black
that's it.
Cat. No, none of the single chair. None of those old school ones that I remember. And I've been to the
Shit, had I
brewery.
known, I would have brought a 6-pack.
Of what? Of
Magic
nine?
Hat.
No, that's okay.
now I want to go buy it.
No, I'm still in my Dogfish 60 minute.
No,
you know.
I drank that at Mulcahy's
But
the other day.
that wasn't the one that started for me. Magic Hat started for me. Right now, it's like the go-to would be with Dogfish 60 minute, just because it's just exactly what I want. American IPA, a little bitter, a little piney, got the right notes, got the right color. I'm good. And drinking a 12-pack, in a week, and not gaining
know
a
that.
pound. By the way,
Yes,
the only brew
you have to eat food to gain weight.
Yeah,
that's true. I don't eat very much. I drink my lunch and dinner.
He
That
drinks
is
his
the
lunch
only
and dinner.
beer they make. They don't even make anything else.
Really?
Just
Magic
number
Hat
9.
Get out of
Really?
here. Oh, that's poor. I'm sorry. I really liked some of their other beer. That Black IPA was delicious. That Saison was delicious. Was that single chair?
I don't
No,
know. I
that
remember
might have been the winter.
the one only other label I remembered was Circus Boy.
Circus
Yeah,
Boy, yep. You have to. Yep.
Oh, that was Hefeweizen, right? Yeah.
Question number 2. Right now, what is your favorite style?
Pacifico.
Wait, that's a brand.
Yeah.
Mexican lager.
Mexican lager.
Like all like Modelo and Pacifico. Those are the beers that I'm drinking on a daily basis.
Cerveza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I was at Cybele Institute, and I actually had guys from Modelo were there.
I like Modelo Dark.
And they brought in
Yeah, man.
they brought in shit you don't find in the States, and we were like, what? They brought a keg to put in the beer stube.
Oh, was it the mini kegs? Because the
And-
mini kegs at
And
Modelo.
let me tell you, it was some of the best tasting beer. So fucking good.
So jealous. When we used to go to Nassau Coliseum for the World Beer Craft Beer thing, I would spend.
International.
Yeah, thank you. It was international. I spent a lot more time at that festival over on that side of the Coliseum floor, because there's stuff that you're not going to see. Yeah, you had your Hofbrau, so I was drinking Dunkels and Hefs and stuff like that. German beer. What else? Harp and Guinness were always there. You know, there was some good choices at the time, and Guinness would come with all like the weird stuff or the new stuff they're trying to promote. You could always get a good Guinness though. But yeah, I remember Modelo, Dos Equis, everything was. Yeah, oh yeah.
Amber.
And I would always go. Yeah, I was always go for the Modelo Dark and the Dos Equis Amber. I like the darker lagers. On that side.
Negro Modelo is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Great beer.
When I go to Cara Cara in Farmingdale,
Love that place.
that's what I get. I get Modelo Dark with my dinner. Delicious. I love that one.
Question number 3. What beer, if you were able to, you go into a restaurant, you go into a bar, what beer would you like to see on tap or available from any point in time other than your beer? What would be that beer?
Like a beer that's in existence?
It might not be anymore.
Okay.
But what would be that one beer that you would hope to see and be able to have?
Oh man, you know I'm always really happy to see Rodhouse Pilsner on draft.
Okay.
That's sort of like that's always like like feels like a warm handshake. Yeah, I would say it's probably that. Although maybe that's not fair because I feel like more and more you see it in more places now. It's not quite as hard to find anymore.
Well, that's a good answer to that one because that's what you would want. You sit down at a restaurant, if it's there, that's the thing.
That's the one I want.
Yeah,
Sweet.
just because it's there. Now, you never know. It could, like Magic Hat, die out eventually, and you're not going to get as much anymore. Oh, boy. Let's see who this is.
400 or 500 years?
See,
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah.
This is the Word with Mike Pete and Steve GovsRadio.com. Who do we got on the phone?
This is good cartoon.
All right, so that was that one again.
Every
week.
every
Sorry,
time.
buddy, but we're not
We don't
gonna
know.
take that.
Oh.
It's a blocked wireless caller. It doesn't have a phone number. So,
Every time we do the show, this guy calls.
so I talked to DJ D Love today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dennis called. Actually, DM'd.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not DJ. And I was going back and forth. Apparently, it's his birthday again, third time this year, and he wanted us to shout him out. So shout out to DJ D Love on your birthday, buddy. But what was that fourth question? That was a follow up to that third one. We got to go back to that show and listen to it because that was a great question that we could introduce. And I was annoyed because I had to redo the whole, Steve song again to get the 4 questions in. But how I started with number 9 and quickly moved into West Coast IPAs. It was the groundbreaking beer, but then it was Stone. It was I had some Dogfish, not West Coast,
Dude,
but
all the Three Floyds beers.
oh yeah, oh god, when they started coming out, that King Lizard is that one from Three Floyds that you had, Steve?
No, that was
And you brought back Pliny.
Oh, I
Sorry.
brought so many things back.
Yeah.
Now I remember getting way back when I was in Chicago, and I'm walking to one of the bevies, and the guy's walking with a case of zombie dust, and he's like, "Yeah, this is it." And guy takes a six pack, and he goes, "You want one?" I was like, "What?"
Should I
And
have one?
I took it, and that was their allotment. They got a case, and it was called
before it
Binnie's.
reached the shelf. People were grabbing it out of the case.
And I went back to I had a little sweet I was staying, and I put it in the fridge.
Bougie bastard.
And while I was studying, I cracked that open and I drank it right out of the bottle. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is the most wonderful thing ever. I will never forget this. And to this day, Zombie Dust is always that one beer. And then of course, I go to a burger place, and I see on the list, I see Gumball Head. I'm like, fuck, this is unbelievable. I'm like, I'll have a bottle of Gumball Head. She goes, really? Because we got it on tap. And then that was the next moment for me. I was like, oh my God, this is great.
But those gateway beers and or breweries, for that matter, what was the next thing? Like after you had Magic Hat, what was like that next wave of stuff?
I definitely started to get into hoppy beer. It was
Yeah.
a big hop head, kind of, I guess, as that like second wave of American craft beer was happening. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Oh yeah,
you know,
Bro.
that was the other
still-
one I couldn't think of.
I still drink that beer.
Yeah.
Celebration is
that-
delicious. I love Celebration.
So Root and Branch, the guy that I bartend with at Root and Branch, Alex Zolli, is sort of like a craft beer legend in New York City. He's
When you hear where he used to work, you're gonna go, I fucking probably saw him.
Ginger Man?
No.
No?
he's essentially witnessed the birth and hand delivered almost every important craft beer bar in New York City. That's
Really?
opened in
Proletariat?
the last 10 years. He's
Blind Tiger?
Proletariat. I think he worked at Blind Tiger, but part of the opening team at Tourist, part of the opening team, ran Spite and Dival for years.
Spite and Dival.
Part of Beer Street. But
God.
just this last year, he brought in some Celebration cans, and I forgot how good it was.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got a Magnum from last year at home, and he brought that in, and it was just like, and he put me back on to Celebration. And I'm like, what a good beer.
You just pass in the store. In the bottle, you're like, oh, look at it, so cute. But then you're like, you get back into it, and you're like, oh, I've been missing this.
Yeah.
That's why I was for Dogfish. I've been away for it for so long. Now I'm like, how come I haven't been drinking this every day forever? I mean, it's those types of beers.
Okay, he's has it on tap.
I know, but I'm just saying I had them when I went to the Warped Tour band. No, when I went to the Midtown show, they had of course. But that's what I'm saying. Like that those core beers, they really haven't changed in my opinion. Like Celebration's still Celebration. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is still that. You can always go back to it as an old friend, and like I said, have that relationship just rekindle.
I had like a 5-year stretch where I would drink the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale at the end of every night. That was my shift beer. We just
nice.
Split a 6-pack with a buddy of mine. Kind of.
And I was we were talking about with not Twin Fork. Who do we have in last week? Why can't I think of it? Oh, Somerset. And at Beverage Barn, and I think I misspoke, and it kept saying it was not Kona, but it was the Maui Coconut Stout. It was Maui Coconut Porter, because I looked it up afterwards, and I know I kept saying stout. But that's another one. Like then I started seeing stuff like that. The Hawaiian craze of Kona and Maui really was more the craft, and Kona was more the big D. But that type of beer and that type of flavoring and the stuff that they're doing there. When Firestone Walker. No, Fire. What's the not Longboard, not Big Wave. What's the one with the lava on it? Fire Walker? No, it's not Fire Walker. Anyway,
the one with fire.
Yeah, the one with
and lava.
But that whole lineup, and then I got back to things like Saranac, like just old school Saranac. Their dark beer lineup in the holidays.
Saranac and couldn't tell you.
But they're still producing beer for.
They have like a fall. They have like a fall
and the winter one's
like
just as good too.
Pack.
Just a dark
black lager.
Coming from the guy who was just an hour ago saying how he is just looking for the next new thing.
Yeah, and I'm going backwards. I was having a conversation about music too. Like I saw a band, one of the bands I like, released a new song. So I go back to some of the original albums, and I'm like, wow, where's this album been? I haven't listened to this in years. And it's the same thing with beer. Like I get the new stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is good. And then I go back, and I'm like, oh, where has this been for the last few years? I got to get back into that. Yeah, I go through those changes, I guess, sometimes.
Honestly, like one of the best things about being a part of opening Root and Branch, all of those guys are such big beer geeks.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like stalwarts in the craft beer scene in New York. They're not fooled by the shiny new thing, and they've really taught me like a newfound respect and love for all of these great American beers that have just been around the block, and they're still good.
Yeah.
I was at Root and Branch. It was just me going in, picking up some beer. I was like, I'll take like a 5 ounce of just something just to try it, because it was new on the list. And immediately, I forget who it was, came over to me with something from Hillstead and that they had, and they just cracked the bottle. Now they're just, anyone that wants to taste this, check this out. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, that goes on a lot now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of another perk of the
job. You're getting a lot of people bringing stuff, and you guys
Thursdays.
are allowing that. It's phenomenal, and I'm like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. And then I stayed for another beer, and they put the hook in me in there, and I'm like, now I'm going to be 2-3 beers in, and we're hanging, talking. It's the vibe.
Do you know how many times I've had guys at the bar be like, okay, this is my last one. Okay, I'm serious. This is actually my last one. Okay, this time I'm serious. I'm going to go after this one. And they end up hanging out all night.
Yeah.
All right, you don't have to talk about me. I'm right here, okay? Fucking right here, Ben.
And that's when he calls me. He's like, what are you doing right now? I'm over Root Branch. I'm like, all right, I'll be over.
Steve's wife comes marching into the brewery.
Bro.
Steve, Where have you been?
You don't know how many I've
Get that pizza to go.
I've gotten like fucking really in trouble because of these guys. You know, I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden Alex comes over and he puts, "Oh yeah, by the way, this stout we just poured it." And I'm like, "Okay," and then I'm tasting. I'm like, "Oh, that's so delicious." And
Steve's
then-
on the phone. I don't care if it's your birthday. I'm
I'm sorry your mother's dead. No, I'm God.
Jesus.
That was terrible. That was
You went really
terrible.
dark.
Yeah.
Quick there, huh?
Yeah, well, you know.
Tell the kids to go play on the highway.
Yeah. I'm sorry the house is on fire and everybody's dead. I'm sorry, but I got another beer. I just ordered it.
I can't go now.
No, I learned my lesson. When I first started going to Root and Branch, they do half pours or full pours, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Fuck half pour! What do you? Come on!"
No, now because you want to sample everything that's there. Is that something?
No, I still want the full pour. I don't need to drive home with covering one eye and trying to fucking see. Oh yeah.
We need
Yeah.
self-driving cars.
Yes.
I mean, come
We-
on.
need that tomorrow.
It's not like I could ride the railroad for free. Oh wait, I
you
can.
and it's within 2 blocks of where you're at.
Hey, yeah, and it's like literally like a couple stops, right, or something like
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
You have no excuse.
No,
Yeah,
there
no.
yeah.
Not a.
Thanks for calling
And
him
my,
out. It's
and my,
perfect 'cause he needs
and my
that.
wife fucking made that apparent to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which is interesting. When you guys were at Root and Branch deciding on location, was that key to the formula, is getting somewhere near public transportation because you had
man.
such a huge following in the city?
I honestly I don't know the whole story about how,
Again, we
how-
need to get Anthony on.
Yeah.
how they landed there. I know Anthony grew up not too far away from
Yeah.
that location. I will say this. I know he used to skateboard
Yes,
there
please.
as a kid, and I guess that.
Yes, Copaig has a skate park down at Tanner Park.
But even
Yeah.
just like skateboarding
Oh,
there,
under the
like,
train tracks?
under the train tracks on Railroad Avenue. That's
Yeah.
so, and he's a big fan of skateboarding. So I would imagine part of it is somewhat sentimental.
Okay.
Probably it was like, oh shit, I used
Yeah.
to go skateboarding down here.
Get my
as-
truck
as a
grind.
kid or whatever.
The wax is still on the curb from.
Yeah, I'm sure like
1990.
having a train stop right there.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt.
Like when you're looking at building a business, that's definitely a boon.
And I know Copaig was going through a revitalization, redoing some of their main town strip there and adding new buildings and new stuff. So it was a great addition to the area. And I'm sure you're seeing a lot of foot traffic. I mean, the brewery's busy and, people are coming in throughout, the normal open hours, I guess. you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's still they're getting people in every day that are like, I live right down the street and I had no idea this
Yeah.
place was here.
No, it's true.
They're still getting.
I mean, if
that.
you're not into craft beer, like that's pretty
It's
easy
true.
to,
It's. I would say it's easy to miss if you're not looking for it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not walking down that area of that train tracks
It's
unless
definitely
if you're not
still in
following
that
all the
if
new
you know,
brewery
you know
openings
kind
on
of phase,
Facebook and Instagram,
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to.
Yeah. We're the ones
know?
always looking for new ones, but that
People are finding out, but it's
it's
still
word of mouth too. I mean, that's
it's
what's
in that great place right now as a business where it's like, for all the early adopters, they're getting to go during this time when it's not overrun and
Right.
not everybody's heard of it. It's literally just people who really love. Most of the people that come in are people who love craft beer.
Yeah.
And they've been following Root and Branch for a
why-
little while, which is awesome.
Me and the boys show up around 3:00. Not a big crowd. We could
Nope.
go up and get.
I
our
like
beer
the
and
outside
relax.
spot. That's nice.
Oh man, when it's
Yeah, when it's like
when it
nice
get that
out.
nice little sun out there. Oh man,
Yeah.
so good.
So you guys, obviously, you're like many of the other breweries. You have to bring in an outside food vendor. So you guys have been trying out new places.
They
But you
stopped that. They actually
We got
opened up-
Nico's now.
They
So where is Nico? Is it doing
It's in the back,
out of the back of the brew house?
Yeah.
Like where? Really?
right to the left is the.
Is it a
It's like the
separate
loading
business?
area.
Okay.
Is it a
And-
separate business or is it just?
Yeah. How does that?
Yeah, I mean, it's its own business, but it's Anthony and the brewer and his dad have been making pizza together for years, and his dad Frank, like, grew up in the Bronx. I think he grew up in the Bronx, but like one of his
If
first,
he didn't, it's a great story for a
one
pizza.
of-
Yeah, keep it
one
that
of his
way.
first jobs apparently as a teenager was working at a pizzeria. So,
Really?
they've sort of
As one does in the
they've
Bronx.
like been honing. They've been making pizza together for fun for a while, kind of honing the craft. And
Nothing better when you go back there. And it was the first day they opened, and his dad's there, his mother's there, whole family. And his mother's like, yeah, I taught him everything he knows. and his father's just like, how you like it? And but
It's been awesome to see, man. Like to see, you know, and obviously, like we all have our quarrels and our qualms with our own family. But as an outsider, to watch Anthony and his dad and his mom and his brother like like rally around building this thing together. Yeah, it grows my heart to see it. I love it. It's really awesome to see, man.
The best thing I
hope they don't kill each other.
Someone's going in that oven. Do they have a pizza oven? Or are they doing?
No, it's a brick oven pizza.
It's a brick.
It's a trailer.
Okay,
it's a full trailer.
Okay. I know. Okay,
but they make their own dough. They make it's
good. Yeah.
So Anthony, I go in. And
what's fucking better than beer and pizza, right? Like,
I go in and he's got the paddle. He's working the oven. His dad's there. His brother, his mom's over here. You know, walking around serving. And I see he's like, "Hey, Steve." I'm like, "Bro, I gotta ask you. All right, what do you love more, making the pizza or beer?" And he fucking stopped for a few moments and just kind of like
he had to really think about it, didn't he?
And he's like, "Pizza."
Yeah.
He goes, "It's more hands on. It's
also instant gratification.
Beer takes hours.
Yeah,
and you know, but pizza by spinning the fucking." You know, the crust in that, if you leave it too long on one side, it's so intimate.
It's ready in a few minutes after you put it in that oven.
The whole thing about it
a few weeks
is so intimate about making that pizza and people having it immediately. Where beer, you know, many things could go wrong, but you can kind of fix it and you have time. And pizza, it's that.
A few minutes versus a few weeks.
I love the synergy though, right? It's like it's still grain and fermentation.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Like creating something delicious with grain and fermentation.
And I even said to him, I go, "Bro,
and do you go traditional? Like do you go like a Pilsner, you know, and your margarita or Neapolitan slice, or do you go with a ton of adjuncts and, you know,
I'm going
hot honey and
I'm going
banana
sausage
peppers
with
and
an
sausage.
IPA.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, something hearty with
let me
the
tell
IPA.
you that Turkish pills
Oh yeah, man.
with the freaking white slice.
White slice.
Yeah. The Turkish Pilsner or the Turkish lager was a bit of a sleeper hit. Kind of snuck up on all of
that one.
Well, also because people want lagers. I mean, as much as people want IPAs, the craft guys.
Do you guys, I'm curious as people who love beer, like where are your heads at? Because I feel like we've been hearing that the lager revolution is coming for years.
Oh God,
right?
It fucking better.
Yeah,
it's here.
You
I
guys are all rooting for it. I mean,
if it's not,
the sales data supports that.
Yeah, that's true.
Crispy Boys or Belgians, like that's.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
know
always
it would make brewers really happy if people started drinking more Crispy Boys because
I
that's
drink,
the stuff that we want to make.
Everyone drinks
right?
hazies because that's what's available. But like, no, I like. There's always a season for fucking lagers, man.
Yeah, it is always a season for lager. I'll still always go back to the really hoppy beers. I do like that flavor profile. That's what got me started in general. That's got me going anyway. It keeps me going, but you can't do that consistently over years. You have to have some sort of in-betweens. And I think the first thing I go to, I love dark lagers. Like a Schwartz beer, a Dunkel, stuff like that. I can go right to over a porter or a stout. I can do those. But just if I had a routine in a bar or something like that and they had IPA, I'd probably get an IPAs and then every so often mix in one of those dark beers as long as they had it on tap. But in regards to like a Pilsner, I love them, but at times I'd rather go to the hop than to the pills because I'm still getting a little bit of that crisp, that hit in the mouth, and at the same time, then I'm getting all that juice flavor profile that I want.
It's all about the hit.
It is all about the hit. I need that boom, that zing. As soon as it hits me, boom, I'm like, yes.
Boom, zing. I got it. Hits me right here.
Like A1 sauce.
Everyone remembers that goddamn commercial.
Everyone.
That juice, man.
Yeah. I do like the juice, too. I mean, I don't like the overjuice. Like some of the ones that are just orange juice. No. But I need something else to balance that out. Sure. I like for instance, this nice little balance.
There's a little bite.
Yeah, little bite, but not over the top hops.
Beer's still a little green. We were supposed to release it last week. So the bite is just like
I was interested because
got to chill out.
I saw when you brewed it, and I was like, I don't see it yet.
Yeah,
where is it? And
give it to me.
and now I get to drink it.
Don't tell anyone, by the way.
Well, too late.
Oh, no, we won't put this out on the air or anything.
No, we're not live or nothing.
This isn't going out into the internet.
No.
Interwebs.
It'll be out there eventually. By the time it's out there, it'll be out there.
It's not released yet.
We're releasing it when it's ready.
And when is that going to be?
Probably this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you're
like
far off. I mean, I
Friday.
don't notice anything crazy, but I'm sure you guys, with your knowledge of what it was supposed to be, what you're intended to be,
Yeah.
I feel as an
And
average
finely
consumer,
tuned
I would have
palates.
no clue that's not what you intended it to be.
We found ourselves in the exact position that kind of scares the shit out of me about like kind of running a brewery
Your own, yeah.
called test that is sort of like has an eye on trying to try something new.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, nobody's ever made a beer with overnight oats before. There's a handful of beers out there that are called overnight oats,
Right.
but I don't think they've actually taken the step of overnighting the oats. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Challenge it's
Even-
thrown out there.
All right.
Good
even
luck
if we
finding
weren't the
one.
So-
first, it was definitely the first time I ever did it.
Yeah.
It was definitely the first time Anthony ever did it. And we were walking into a scenario of not knowing what to expect. You can go, okay, well, we think it's going to do this, but you just don't know. And then at some point we find, okay, beer's still kind of bitter and astringent, and it's because it's green, but is it because it's just green? Would this have happened anyway, or is it because of the overnight oats? Is it because the protein and fat matrix is a little bit different? And is it keeping the hops in suspension a little bit longer? Does a beer like this need an extra few days of chilling out?
Well, I'm glad you picked Simcoe over some of the other really strong hops, because this is a more subdued hop compared to some of the others.
Simcoe was got to go out to hop harvest in the Pacific
cool.
Northwest and help with selection for Root and Branch. And of the hops that we rubbed, the Simcoe was by far and away the best hop I had ever handled. Smelled
Really?
it really made an impression on both of us.
She like happens.
So sort of like when it came to making a hoppy beer together, using the Simcoe seemed like a logical choice. It was just like, and I don't think Anthony's ever made a single hop like a beer with only Simcoe. I've done it once, but not with like really great Simcoe like this.
And was it pellet, or did you use
Pellets,
cryo?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, pellets. Yeah, I mean,
I'm wondering if, again, this is all new now.
Yeah.
If you use cryo instead of using the pellets, again, this is, I love this stuff.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, okay, we did this. Why did this happen?
Yeah.
And that's the great part, is trying to
I've
figure
definitely
out.
seen with using cryo, if you use it in a late stage dry hop, it definitely seems to leave some bite.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Leaves the beer a little green. I think for my process, I've found that cryo works a little bit better earlier in the process. I
Now,
like to use it
you
in
use
local and
Simcoe
stuff
for
like
the
that.
whole hot side, cold side?
All Simcoe, all pellets.
Okay.
But yeah, the stuff that we got to select, and it was really special stuff. So it's cool to get to see it stand up on its own.
That's awesome.
In a beer, and I mean that's sort of like, this is what makes making hoppy beer really fun. Like when you get to kind of like touch it in the beginning, and then kind of see it stand alone in its own beer, and kind of see what it can do. That for me is like that's what makes you want to make beer, right?
Sure.
It's like,
For me, it's cashmere.
Cashmere's awesome. Great hop.
Fucking love cashmere so much. Anytime, I was doing a collab with somebody, I always was like, oh, and then put some cashmere in it? Can we put cashmere?
Everything is put cashmere in it.
Man hands with Sand City.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, here's the recipe. I went through the recipe. I'm like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's,
I'm like,
what about some cashmere?
hey, how about can we put some cashmere here or Comet? And
This guy shows
up.
he shows up to collaborations with cashmere in his back
Yeah,
pocket.
I just got like a
a
fucking
cashmere
bag.
sweater.
44-pound friggin'.
Two of the brewers got bags of weed. This guy got a bag of cashmere. He's showing.
And cashmere stinks like weed. It's so wonderful.
It does. It's like that kind of resiny.
It has that
Danky, kind of funky.
Yep.
What are the other like? You went out to the hop Fest, and you're able to smell. What else stood out? Anything new that's kind of coming out that's kind of on the cutting edge, or anything else that was like really like way out there? Like what are
Citra.
Yeah, just so
I
much
don't know,
Citra.
Like I feel like the stuff that's kind of in trial phases, it's always in that like you need to actually brew with it.
Yeah, because you don't know.
Yeah,
You really don't.
Our buddy Joey, who also works at Root and Branch, is starting a brand of his own called Shanker that everybody should keep their eye on if they're
really?
not already.
Does he have some beer out already, or just
not yet? But
okay.
he's just this week literally started launching his Instagram and
Okay.
everything. He's going to be brewing out of the 12% Beer Project.
Oh, there you go.
So Joey Pepper, if it's a name that you don't know, if you're listening at home, Joey Pepper was also one of the opening on the opening team at Turst. I think basically ran the beer program there for a while. Then became the head brewer at Folks Beer, which
Shit.
Really?
became a like a real hometown favorite, right? Like, making some of the best lager around. And at some point during the pandemic, went his own way to start his own brand, and that's Shanker. So he'll be brewing out of the 12% Beer Project. He's bringing back Glow Up. I don't, for people that like sour beer and know that brand.
I definitely have heard of it.
He's going to be bringing back Glow Up, making some of his own sour beers. I've digressed a little bit. The reason why I bring up Joey is he made a really good point today, and it's about hop varieties and how he believes that the grower is more important than the variety, right? So it's not just the name. Like fancy names are great, but you also have to pay attention to where they're coming from and who's growing them, because usually the best stuff is coming from specific places. And we've seen Root and Branch has been and Joey and a lot of other great hoppy beer breweries have been employing freestyle hops from New Zealand to great success, right? And it just goes to show you how like when you have people who really care about their craft and what they're doing, it's. That has as much of, or if not more of an effect on the end product than the actual variety of the plant itself. And we know there's terroir in plants, so
sure,
or in hops specifically, so that all makes sense.
Back in the day, I got turned on by Sriracha Ace from Brooklyn Brewery. When that first came out, I was like,
They're Saison, right?
Are they still doing that?
I haven't seen that in forever.
I haven't seen that in the longest time. But the key was, it was a Sriracha Ace hop that was only grown in Japan over by this volcanic ash area. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's so good. And I got my hands on Sriracha Ace from Japan. And I brewed this beer, and I'm like, I brought it to a festival, and people were like, oh my God, this is the best beer we ever had. This is fantastic. Could never get the hop again.
Yeah.
Well,
but here's the fucked up thing.
Hop, right?
I got it from Yakima. Wasn't the same.
Wasn't the same.
It was
Sure.
close, but
Sure.
it did not have that wow factor.
Was it because they didn't get it from the right region in which the original one came from?
It doesn't matter. Soil.
Ah, okay.
Soil.
So it's just from where it was.
And the Sriracha Ace was actually was brought about Sapporo Brewing Company.
Right.
They were the ones. They were like, they had their research and develop,
Sapporo.
and they made this, they crossbred this hop, and it was only in this volcanic area. It's only like an acre.
How crazy is that? They got a hop
The
that grows
San
in
Marzano
volcanic.
of hops.
There's a manual on hops that every brewer reads that's literally called Hops, right? And in that book, they state hops grown on one side of the road, Citra hops grown on one side of the road, can taste completely different from Citra hops grown on the other side of the road.
But you got to think about it. It's the same thing like wine, like grapes. When I was in California, I could not believe they're like, yeah, that grape is the same grape, but because it's here and it's down a little lower on the valley, totally completely different sugar content, and it is literally. That's why Long Island, really can't get like hops to that point.
Right. Well, it's soil, it's elevation, it's a bunch of different things,
Well,
but it's also very
it's-
consistent in that everything's going to be about the same. That's what I thought about Long
Surprising,
Island.
because the weather in Long Island is so good. You would think that hops would grow great here. You know?
But
Well, I mean,
but
this
the
year
cra-
has
but
been.
the craziest thing, though, way back 200 years ago, all the hops that were grown in the United States were grown upstate New York,
yeah.
in
Yeah.
the Hudson Valley.
They're still
and
finding
they were the-
wild varieties.
Thanks,
Yes.
Prohibition.
Yeah.
There, I had a. Back when I was like really just kind of still homebrewing, but connecting with people around beer. I met a woman who, I think it was her dad, was one of the original, had a farm that was one of the original hop growing farms of New York
Really?
in Cooperstown, and she had, they had stopped growing hops for decades, but she had found that there were just hops, like feral hops,
Yeah.
growing on the farm.
Yeah.
It was like, can you do anything?
Yeah,
with it?
yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is,
Get
they
some
have no
cones,
idea
get-
what they are. I mean, yeah, they could test them and find, obviously the oils and stuff, but,
Take them,
variety?
dry them a little bit, smell them out, and see what they closely resemble. And if you can repropagate all of those, you got yourself maybe the next new hop buried for 50 years.
I mean, there's no reason to believe that that New York State can't produce great hops.
Right.
There's no reason to believe that. The breeding programs are, just not quite as far along as the breeding programs in places like Yakima.
And again,
Yeah.
it's has to do with, the
Well, yes, but that's why the farm brewery license, in my opinion, when they started that years ago, was meant to kind of spur farmers to try to figure that out. The problem is it's now way behind.
Well, I know Cornell
In-
is very big.
Yeah, it's a land grant university. I mean,
Yeah.
that's-
A buddy of mine who is part of the Brewing Institute upstate with Cornell, and they are, that's what they're trying to bring along. Yes.
Is figure out a viable crop and a flavor profile that people would want.
And that's the thing. You can easily grow Cascade and Centennial and
Yeah,
all
of
those.
course.
You can't grow the sexy ones because they're trademark.
right. Well, you
but
can call them
it's-
something else.
Yes.
Yeah. You can call
But
them like
good-
NY37.
Well, good luck getting a rhizome from.
yeah, I
you
know.
know.
I know.
you could probably get sued for that too, I would imagine.
Could they test the molecular level, I guess, and
DNA.
get you on that? Yeah.
But yeah, the idea is experimental, and that's when
You could do some crossbreeding,
27
maybe?
hops when
Yeah.
he had an experimental that he had gotten. He had it for a year, and just because here on the island too, we're really susceptible to dewy mold. Kills fucking hops.
Yeah.
It'll kill all of them. And I had gotten it. It was he was calling it Thor, and it was a fantastic.
Oh, that's
hop.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a
Right.
Wasn't it one of the last Thor's Hammer? Was
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
one of the last ones, right?
yeah, and it was a great hop. But he's like, I can't do it anymore. And then he wound up turning towards cannabis
The
or hemp.
marijuana.
Yeah, and
A little more profitable nowadays.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
So you're brewing. Let's get into the beers. Let's get into the beers right away. Steve leaves. Perfect timing.
Yeah, I got it.
Get the fuck out of here. So let's talk. Let's first start talking about Tokyo Fixer, a Japanese style wheat beer with toasted buckwheat. Haven't seen that on a label. Coriander and Satsuma.
Yeah,
Satsuma.
Satsuma.
That really, the orange really
Tangerine.
came through on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What went into this? How did you come up with this recipe? Did you experiment with some of these things before? Like, kind of what brought you to this?
And can I get a case by Memorial Day this summer? Because I feel like
This whole batch is sold. So this beer was basically designed for a couple of sushi restaurants. The
Really?
conversation started around a one Michelin star sushi omakase called Noda.
Mm-hmm.
They were opening a bar called Shinji's, and it's actually named after this guy. Shinji is known as the Tokyo Fixer. Apparently,
that is a cool fucking
Yeah, it
name.
is definitely.
Yeah,
cool,
he's like if you're going to Tokyo, you want to talk to Shinji. Shinji's your plug for everything.
Buddy of mine from work
you
just
know,
went to
kind of
Tokyo
thing.
today.
No, really?
Yeah.
So we they wanted to do this Boilermaker with like really dope Japanese whiskey, and they wanted to have like a beer designed just for it. And that's where the conversation started. But we also wanted to think about pairing it with sushi, which is where the flavor arrangement really kind of like, I guess, spurred from. The label should say soba cha, but because of the government, we had to change it to toasted buckwheat. Because,
It's such a nicer name than saying toasted buckwheat. But
soba cha is basically a toasted buckwheat tea, Japanese buckwheat tea that it's really aromatic. It kind of has these like notes of sesame, really fascinating stuff. Buckwheat is a seed; it's not a grain, which was another hiccup for us with labeling and having to change the wording.
Now, did you have to mill that? Is that what?
We actually just kind of
full seed?
basically treated it like a dry hop. Which was probably a bad idea.
Why?
Well,
just because it's
should have pasteurized it or something.
All right. Well, I don't. Nothing to me came out of the beer that way.
That one's really good.
That was delicious.
But like the thinking there is, in terms of just thinking about sushi, you're looking at like a piece of fish, some nori, and some rice, right? And I feel like pairing with the rice, the grains kind of have that covered. The buckwheat comes in as a note that's meant to play off the nori, because that also kind of has like a toasted note. If you've ever eaten like just like seaweed chips or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then the satsuma tangerine is just such a special ingredient. Like all Japanese citrus is like so aromatic, and like satsumas are I think probably about as special as they get. When we're handling the juice, getting it into the beer, it was just like I wanted to drink it. Didn't want to give it to the beer.
Now, when you're thinking about the packaging, because you're having them in 12-ounce cans, was it because they were going to the restaurants?
I'd love to give you a better answer than they just wanted it in 12-ounce cans.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I mean, the label's great. You mentioned the artist before. Who's the artist on some of this stuff? And wow, they came up with some really cool freaking artwork.
And what drugs do they prefer?
That's a good question. I
Got to find out.
No, because that's really cool. It reminds me of like the new season of Fortnite. I saw it the other day. My son's playing. It's all like this Japanese like main city, and then now all in the outskirts of it is bamboo and these nice little houses and stuff like that. Gives me that
a
vibe.
guy riding the octopus.
Yeah, well, that's not in there, but I'm sure they'll come up with that soon. The can art you said was who you mentioned before.
It's actually it's an artist from Latin America. Guy's named Christian, and it's sort of like one of the beautiful things about the world that we're living in right now, right? Like especially like when you're making craft beer. You can now, if you're looking for an artist, you have the ability to connect with an artist that's in any part of the world.
So you just search out artwork and see whose style you really
sort of
like.
Looking for artists that had an affinity for Japanese culture, and we basically put together here are 5 different artists that we think are cool but very different in terms of style, and let the restaurant pick.
Yeah.
But they ended up loving them so much that they actually they commissioned them to do artwork for a mural that's going up
Really? That's
like
pretty
the
cool.
side of like a 3-story building in Brooklyn, next to one of their locations. So
Fly him in from where in Latin America was he?
I think he's Colombian Christian.
It just seems, and of course, like we have people here that have a love for Japanese culture. It seems weird to have someone from Colombia just really, connect to the Japanese culture. But it's no different than us. I mean, it's no different than what we would do. Like, how far away are we from that anyway?
Yeah.
We don't have, in my opinion, our culture is a mixed culture. But them, they have like this culture's background, this feeling of history and life. And it just seems to me like a little odd, but at the same time, beautiful artistry.
Yeah.
And now, did you commission him for other programs, or are you kind of jumping around between artists, or what do you?
Would love to. I mean, I'm as where Test is concerned, we're sort of looking at doing like mini series with artists. So,
okay.
Commissioning like 2 or 3 pieces at a time, and running those. Partly because there's just so many great artists out there.
Yeah, you want them all.
It's like you want to work with everybody. I don't know how good that is from a branding standpoint. I feel like brands that really are able to create a great brand identity, or they really zero in on a single artist or a single style. And they
Well, you
really
have the
start-
Hudson, right?
start building
And
it out.
Hudson has that unique look. Like when
Yeah.
I see that sour double IPA on a shelf, I know it's Hudson just even
Yeah.
from like 10 feet away. Like that.
Yeah.
That's that.
Evan, though, their artist he's like on a moonshot from starting out creating artwork for Hudson Valley. Like, I mean, I don't know if there's an artist creating artwork for a brewery that has created a bigger following for themselves than Evan.
Wow.
Like if you look at his Instagram, he's like approaching 500,000 followers. on
Holy
Instagram.
smokes.
Yeah, he's just like he's managed to really strike a chord with people. It's pretty amazing.
It speaks to people too.
Yeah.
It's got that upstate feel, that upstate vibe. You know,
Yeah.
you know, by being up in New Paltz and Albany and Beacon and all that area there, Newburgh, it's just that feel, and it kind of connects with that local area, and then again, gaining popularity through word of mouth for sure. I mean,
they've made some really great choices though. Too
like canceling my order online.
Here he goes again.
I had to mention it.
I'm really glad we didn't. We haven't.
Oh my God!
Well, we
You
waited this
brought up,
long.
you brought up one of
Waited
the
this
I'm
worst,
glad.
one
Well,
of the
Ben-
worst things that has ever happened to
Not the worst. It just
you. Make it sound like
Was
it's.
it-
we know
But
how.
was it?
Post-COVID, we know how important it was for breweries to ship stuff out, right? To get it all over New York State or even
I'm really
beyond
glad
if they
we're airing
could.
this all out again.
No, I'm just throwing it out. I'm not going to go back to the story. I'm just saying it was really important to do that, and and I know how popular they became because
popular.
they can send their 750s all over the place.
But when Mike wants
but
to
where
order them,
didn't they send
and
one?
they're in
to
his
me,
cart.
to me, they were in my cart, and apparently being in the cart does not mean you get to purchase it. And even when there's a timer running down, but I was on the beach, right? I'm at I forget where I was. I guess Cedar Beach or whatever, and I'm on my phone and I'm waiting for that release. I'm a Hudson fan, so I'm like, yes, I'm gonna get this. I put 3 bottles in my cart. I go to check out. My credit card has the wrong PIN, the 3 digits on the back. So I quickly went to my bag. I got the thing, 3 digits, put it, gone, out of stock.
So you
I'm like,
admit
wait a
it's-
second, it
so
was
you
in my
admit
cart.
it's your fault.
Well, yes and no, but once it's in your cart, shouldn't it stay in your cart as long as the timer hasn't expired?
Not if you have the wrong pin.
That is a good point. So I'll take partial 20% responsibility, and that was enough to not have my order
To
shipped to
make
my
you
house.
angry.
I was angry. I was
how many
angry.
years
I'm
ago
over
was
it
this?
now. Like 4, 3. No, it was post-COVID, so it's the year after COVID. I remember being on the beach, and it's like the first time I was on the beach.
You've got no shot at getting a PlayStation 5.
No, absolutely not. I'm tired. You know what it is? And I'm,
And Ben went right there.
I'm very good at technology, but at the same time,
Stabbed you in your heart.
I don't need a PlayStation. I got my Switch. I'm good to go.
Oh,
I'll say I got my Sun Switch, which
Yeah.
is all the video games I need. I don't play too many, so.
all right, go to bed. I need to have that.
Yeah, well, that's it. As soon as he goes to bed, I'll take the earphones. Bloop, okay. Tick, 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 tick. Super Smash Brothers is a lot of fun. I got to tell you that. And I've never left Nintendo. While we're talking about the subject, I don't think I had an Xbox at one point, and just meh. It's always been regular Nintendo, PlayStation, which I guess I had for
He
a while.
still has up in the
But
closet.
it's still not.
Yeah,
it's
he
not
still has a
Nintendo.
Nintendo 64.
No, dude, I'd be making a lot of money on eBay if I had that. But then once I got the Wii, which was a wedding gift, oh, forget it. I was playing Wii nonstop. And now the Switch, so much easier. It's like this big, and it goes anywhere we go. Yeah. So it's a nice little time waster when you just want to mellow out and chill and just waste time away a little bit at 10 o'clock at night with a dogfish next to you. So I want to touch on the other beers that you have there. What's in the other 4-pack? Wait, before you do that, I mean, for sure, take that out, and let's talk a little bit about your Root and Branch collab, because I know we kind of touched on a lot of things here with the overnight multi-wheat. But what else, oat wheat, what else kind of went into this? So without giving away all the secrets, what was the essence of this? I know you're saying you're letting it sit for a minute, but what were you trying to make? Just something with that level of, ABV, or did you hit all the points that you intended when you first started this?
I mean, for the most part, it's a pretty simple beer, like in the sense that anybody making good hazy IPA is not going to be shocked by how the beer was made.
Yeah.
Basically, all we did was we took a portion of the oat part of the grain bill, and we made overnight oats with it. It's something that people do at home all the time, right? You eat overnight oats. The practical upshot seemed to be like, if this works, we're basically going to be able to push a bunch of oat cream and oat milk over into the kettle. And we managed to do it. I like kind of like at this point, somewhat famously got a text message from Anthony as I was driving into the brewery after the oats had overnighted that said, "Son of a bitch, it worked." Because I think all three of us, Anthony is assistant brewer, Brad Carlin, who goes by Bird, the king of the Castle Carlin. I think the three of us were just like expecting to walk into a very stuck sort of like overnight oat mash that had just turned into
globule
cement like glue. And it turned out that no, it didn't. Like we started recirculating. It was like it just was pure oat cream recirculating. And like pumping it over, we just started like filling the bottom of the kettle with like beautiful looking oat milk, and then
and it truly looked that way.
I saw the post. Yeah,
we just mashed in an IPA on top of it.
Wow,
pumped that over,
and you can see like even a little bit left there in your glass. It has that lighter color.
Yeah,
something that you don't normally see from a nice hazy, juicy IPA.
Yeah,
is that lighter color instead of like that orangey, almost bordering tingy kind of thing. Fantastic. I mean, that lighter look really added to the whole essence of the beer.
Definitely seems to be something that, regardless of whether or not it like has any implications for flavor, it seems to be something that people are looking for now. I mean, I guess Instagram's probably impacting that. You see the beer before you drink it, and people want something that looks more like pineapple juice than orange juice now, right?
Getting there, yeah.
But I think
because people are burnt out on the orange juice.
The hope would be at some point. I mean, and we sort of erred on the side of caution with this beer. We did a single IPA. We just like split some of the oat bill because I think we wanted to avoid making something that was going to be thick to the point of being undrinkable. Kind of looked at it like let's be careful. Let's make a single, not a double. Let's just split the oat bill, and then we can start to back into trying to like get like textures of creaminess that feel balanced. So I mean, I guess to answer your question, if we were shooting for anything, if I had an idea in my mind of what I'd like to see these beers kind of turn into, I think we're trying to explore this idea of like creating oat cream and getting it to emulsify into the liquid, suspend the liquid in a way that affects the flavor and the texture of the beer positively. So that you have, this sort of like the creaminess, like little milky creaminess or whatever.
Now, after you've gone through this test, see what I did there? You have the ability now. Do you think you can go to the double? Do you think you're going to try something like that out? Do you think you want to take it to the next level?
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to. I don't know if Anthony wants to do it. I think he's sort of like...
the anxiety attack last time.
He's like, all right, this is a 2-day brew, okay?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a pain in the ass. It's like all things, a little bit of extra effort. But it like when it comes to brewing, it ends up being a little bit of a pain in the ass.
Is that what you do day one, is just basically let the oats sit first, and then you brew the IPA the next day, and then combine?
We literally, we made overnight oats.
Yeah.
Do a cursory Google search of how to make overnight oats, and you have the hack on how.
Yeah.
You have the hack.
Cheat code implemented.
I know how they brew that beer.
So let's talk about this last one here that you have. So this is a sour IPA, correct?
I brought 2 sour IPAs.
Okay.
Both might be a little long in the tooth, but so I brought Symposium, which is the first beer that Test ever made.
I want to try that one. That one is the one I've been eyeing since you've been posting a while back. Sorry, but they're both. So Peter.
My glass is full. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, you can have some more multi-oat. But tell me about this, because you said first iteration in the sense of this is like what you started with. This
is what we started with, and sort of very much a continuation of a series of collaborations that I did with Root and Branch in Hudson Valley that really kind of got Test up on its feet, kind of got its name out there. And this was just planting beers around this fatty heirloom oat variety.
That's the blood orange right
Should I
there.
send more down?
Very nice. No, it's a good half can
He's
there.
not-
He's not going to do it, but
Yeah.
Stephen will
I
when he's
might try a
done.
little bit.
Yeah, try.
I mean, this beer is exactly 1 year old now, so at this point the acids might be breaking down a little bit. But
I wouldn't say anything negative about this. Wow. Yes.
so this is a sour IPA that's made very much in the Hudson Valley Sour IPA
Yes, it is.
build, but using our American heirloom fatty oats. And what we did is we kind of dropped the milk sugar a little bit and let the fatty oats kind of play that role of like creating the creaminess in the beer. And I think it was successful. We actually really proved it out with Secret Life of Plants, which I also.
I'll be honest, that held up fantastically.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Really? I mean, there's. I took a class on Riesling years ago, and in the class, Riesling has sort of developed this not so cult following amongst sommeliers because of its capacity to age, and you can have these like Rieslings that are like 30 and 40-year-old white wines that drink marvelously. And apparently the reason why is because they have a high level of residual sugar and they're high acid. And one of the things I learned in the class is that apparently your ability to perceive acid diminishes as sugar content goes up, right?
Okay,
So you can have a beer that's way more acidic, or a wine that's way more acidic, but if the residual sugar goes up, you might perceive it as being less acidic. I don't know if that makes sense.
Molecularly, it wouldn't be that way, but you as your taste buds, kind of figure itself out.
Interesting.
It would override it.
Those things sort of add up to. I mean, acid is a preservative, right?
Right.
Famously employed in pickles and oud goose and
Olives.
So one of the things that attracts me to sour beer is this idea that you have this built-in preservative and that the natural preservative in the beer can kind of hold up. But I guess with sour IPA in particular, you have that combination of high residual sugar and high acid. And we haven't really. Hudson Valley, I think, is developing a back catalog where you can kind of start to see how whether or not these beers have a capacity to age, and it seems like they do. Whether or not they have the capacity to age the way Riesling can, like 30, 40 years, we'd need to sit on some beer for
30, 40 years.
Yeah,
a couple, 2-3 more decades.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you're still around by at that point. That's a hell of a resume to have under your belt.
I'll be warm food by then.
So this was obviously, you're doing the typical souring of dropping pH and things like that. Blood orange using just actual juice, or are you using
Juice, yeah.
no extracts or anything like that involved there? You looked at it
Extracts,
like
I haven't been able to bring myself to use yet.
Yeah, no, it's for the best. I think 'cause
I mean-
you can tell the fruit flavor remains. Like you said, the preservative, the acid has kind of kept it intact. I don't believe it fell off all that much. Not being a huge connoisseur of let's say sour beers, but liking sour beer in general, wouldn't even know it was sitting on a shelf or old or anything like you said. So wouldn't have a clue. Would hold up very, very well.
It's been sitting at cellar temperature. I don't even know if I kept these cans cold, to be honest.
Is that why?
What?
Oh, you're good. Okay, you
Yeah,
have some.
no,
I thought
no.
you were gonna say you wanted more.
No.
Yeah, so blood
That
orange.
held up very well.
Yeah.
And then the botanical in the beer, which I don't know how well it stands out, but we use this thing called Fiori di Sicilia, which means flowers of Sicily. And it's a secret ingredient in panettone. Hard to find a recipe for it.
Is it hard to find the ingredient?
Not so hard. We ended up kind of creating our best estimation of what we thought it would be. As far as I can tell, like the people who sell it, it seems to be like kind of a proprietary thing. But it's basically Sicilian citrus blossoms, Sicilian citrus zest, and vanilla. And that, panettone is that like famous sort of like Christmas bread pastry or whatever. And like
The one that you get as a gift and you're like, God damn it, just give me a gift card.
Yeah.
but at the same time,
See, but if you go to
actually eat it, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
if you
No,
go
fuck,
to
this
like
is delicious.
Uncle Giuseppe's or whatever,
Yeah. Stacks and stacks.
stacks and stacks of them.
I remember
people would like search them out.
I used to work for a gentleman who started a pizzeria in my town in Amityville and then opened a restaurant. I'll say because they're not in business anymore. Bellissimo. Manny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bellissimo, right on Merrick Road in Amityville. Loved Bellissimo. Worked for, was a bartender at Bellissimo for a good year and a half. That was Manny's Christmas gift to all the staff. He'd come in.
Pantone.
Oh, everyone would.
Christmas bonus.
Your Christmas bonus would be.
I got a bonus for you.
with a big red box with a cake on it, and you're like, "Oh, thanks, Manny."
Yeah.
But in the end,
I'm gonna bludgeon somebody
no,
with
I
it.
actually ate it, and it was good.
It actually is good.
Believe it or not, the night I got it, I bought. He actually sold me a bottle of Johnny Walker Black because I was going to a bachelor party in Killington. So I brought the cake and the Johnny Walker, and I showed up with the two of these. I got ripped to shit when I walked into that
And
house
it-
in Killington.
then
But we all ate
Pantone
it.
cake
Yeah.
But we all
Oh,
ate
yeah.
it.
But yeah, after you drank the
After
black, everybody ate the
three
cake.
or four shots of black, and at that time we weren't gentlemen. We didn't sip it like gentlemen.
No,
but
you shot it
Yeah, of course,
like
because
idiots.
we're like idiots. But we ate the shit out of that cake. It was delicious. Ben, we're wrapping up here. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of promote everything that you can at this point. How can people find you? How can people get in touch with you? Find the beer, all that good stuff.
It's pretty straightforward. We, kind of running the Gypsy Brewing playbook right now. Follow us on Instagram. It's at the Test Brewery. We basically pop up when we brew at the Great South Bay. We do a can release straight out of the Great South Bay.
It was a great idea.
Usually the Saturday after we've canned the beer, assuming it's ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
We run a pop-up in Williamsburg in Brooklyn out of a bar, restaurant called Strange Ways.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll also do can releases out of there. And, it's kind of spotty. We're making really small batches of beer. It's kind of ephemeral. It's here and it's gone kind of thing.
How many barrels are you doing at a clip?
Right now, 15.
Okay.
Looking to
Wow.
drop down
That's
to
a good
7.
amount.
No, what about when you go to Great South Bay?
We brew 15.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Greg has been kind enough to.
I was gonna
let
say,
me-
'cause
let me brew half
No,
batches there.
no, yeah. I was just gonna say normally it's like 30, and
Yeah.
that's the minimum. You do
Yeah.
30. Good
Might
for
have
you,
to
bro.
cut this part out. And
Don't
yeah,
let on.
Yeah, you might have to.
I'm looking to start brewing 7 barrels so that we can iterate a little bit more than
Oh,
we're
yeah.
doing. So hopefully we'll be putting a little bit more stuff out this year. But yeah, I mean it's
And the Root and Branch collab coming out soon, this week maybe?
if not this week, the next. But
Okay.
I would say to anybody that wants to get their hands on that, just
Follow Test Brewery.
and follow Root and Branch
Branch.
Brewing, because the beer will release out of Root and Branch at Copeg. It's a Root and Branch beer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll either release this week or next.
And when are you there? If people want to come in and say hi to Ben, when are you at Root and
Thursdays and
Branch?
When
Fridays.
Steve's there.
Every Thursday and Friday
Every
with
Thursday,
with
Friday.
Alex Solly, the two of us.
Yes.
Thursdays we run sort of what started as an unofficial bottle share and has sort of like become
I
de
got some cool
rigueur.
stuff I'd like to bring down.
yeah.
Out of hands.
Yeah.
So Thursdays
Gets out of hand.
they're different every Thursday, but we have days where people are posted up all day and people bring in great stuff. Like if you follow Alex's Instagram, which is I think it's like Axel AXEL photo
Mm-hmm.
1, he'll post pictures of like the sort of damage that we've done, and it's like, there's like incredible Hill Farmstead stuff in there, incredible Suarez stuff in there, and like people are just bringing in all these incredible
Yep.
beers. So if you hang around the hoop on Thursdays, there's usually an opportunity.
And it's
to
all
taste
the
some pretty incredible.
It really
stuff.
is all the beer geeks.
Yeah,
Show up.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
They had
I got
this,
some stuff in the back of my fridge. I know you do too, Steve.
something.
We'll
I
make
re-
a date.
Something I
Bro.
really admire about these guys. Like they had this discussion like in the opening week. I forget who. Somebody brought something in and asked if we could open it.
Probably
and
Steve-
it was
probably
sort of like
the
this,
other
like
Steve.
they're busy trying to open and they hadn't really thought about what their policy was going to be. But ultimately, they're like, should we allow people to bring stuff in and open it? And it's like they obviously want people to be mindful and pay for beer too while they're there. But they ultimately decided we all got into this because we're beer geeks.
Right.
And we want this to be a place where people can geek out about beer. And they decided to sort of endorse, bottle sharing.
And it produces a good culture and environment for all that to happen. And people are not shying away from the beers that are on tap.
Yeah, it's been so. I mean, most people that come in for the bottle shares are they drink 4 or 5 Root and Branch beers while they're hanging out anyway.
Taking the sips of everyone else's,
It ends up still being a practical financial upshot for the business.
Yeah, that's nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, really appreciate for coming down tonight. I mean, you got to drive back to Brooklyn in the nor'easter.
Enough. I mean, as somebody who's an autodidact who has sort of tried to consume everything beer related, I've read every manual that's out there, and kind of listened to as many podcasts as I can. I've been a fan of you guys for a while, and
thank you.
It's a pretty big honor to get to actually be on this side with you guys. It's really
it's no big
cool.
deal. Tell everyone out there it's not a big deal. Just come in and hang out.
And the thing is, we really have gotten to the point where all right, this is when we're ending the show because 11 o'clock.
Oh God, the show
would go hours. We would just
3.5 hours.
Because it's just a bunch of like-minded people hanging out, drinking good beer, and
sharing
talking.
Stories.
Sharing
We used to make the mistake of taking the breaks halfway.
Oh well, we take breaks to
yeah.
pee,
Yeah.
and now we just
And
realize
then
we
we'll
get
we'll take
Well,
a
it's
break
also
for
because
for 5
the way
minutes, then it's a 20-minute break. And we
Yeah.
had 3 beers during the break.
You don't
Yeah.
just Lance Armstrong it, just keep going.
Oh yeah, just
Oh yeah. We try the best we can. As we get older, the old prostates are getting smaller, so our
and
bladders
it doesn't help. We looked at what people want to listen to, and if it's too long, they fall off. But if we can just crush everything in there,
just get silly,
as much.
too,
Oh my God, yeah.
which was fun. It helped
Oh, it was
develop
a
the
lot
show.
of
It was
Yes.
it was fun when
Yeah.
Steve would go home at
And
12
then
o'clock
get up
at night and get
on
up
a
at
fucking
4
Monday. On a Monday.
on a Monday. Fucking guys.
But we made it through.
Yeah.
And we're in year 6, and appreciate
also
people like you. I know.
product of the pandemic
Thank you
for
for the
us.
accolades, but appreciate people like you who are out there making.
And we were that close to punching Kelsey Grammer.
Yes,
in the face.
we all know.
I
that.
mean, we really should have.
Yeah, it's
I
another.
think.
We'll tell you the story afterwards. But for you making the trek out and coming out and being part of the show, this is what it's all about for us: is tasting the beer and hearing the stories, and to bring that information out to the people who cannot make it into the brewery or get the story from you directly when you're behind the bar. That's what it was all about. And hopefully, our idea was to kind of keep Long Island and keep New York like a hub for craft beer. And
It's rapidly becoming one of the best states in the country for craft
absolutely.
beer, if not the best.
I'm with you.
I've always said, and when I first opened a brewery, I everybody I talked to, I said, only thing I want New York to be a destination for craft beer, where people go, oh, I'm going to Portland. Hey, I'm going to, going over
San
here.
Diego.
Yeah. I
Colorado.
want people to say, oh, no, I'm going to New York because they have the best craft beer.
Yeah.
15
Always wanted
breweries
that.
in a 10 square miles.
Always wanted
And
that.
they're all killer.
Because where
Knocking,
craft
knocking,
beer
knocking.
goes, the deregulation of magic mushrooms follows.
Ah, there it is.
Love it.
All right.
And that's why that.
And on that note,
This is the word Mike P and SteveGubsRadio.com. Really appreciate everyone for tuning in and all the people on Instagram. Check us out on our podcast platforms. New shows come out every 2 weeks. We are on Spotify. We're on the Hopped Up Network. We're on iHeart. We're on iTunes. And, I already said iHeart, right? Oh, Amazon Music. So appreciate for everyone for listening and doing great, by the way. Year 6 and still going strong. People aren't getting bored of us yet, thank God. So thanks, everyone, for listening and joining to the show, both call-ins and, of course, on the Graham Live. Something before we get out of here, Stephen.
Yeah, always make sure the bread is toasted when you have a crack sandwich.
Okay. Did you prepare for that one?
No.
Okay.
That just came to me.
I didn't prepare for that one.
No, Peter, it's going to be good to hear this one. Pete, something before we get out of here?
Don't forget to have your pet spayed or neutered.
This is The Word with Mike P and SteveGubsRadio.com, and we out!
Well, that's 2 hours of your life that you'll never get back.
Are you kidding me?
Please hang up and try again.
This has been The Wort on Govs Radio. I hope you're drunk enough.